Chapter 1958. The Terrifying Creature Under the Divine Mountain. Chapter 1958. The terrifying creature under the Divine Mountain. The space-time tunnel exploded, and Lu Ming and Bubbles were blasted out. However, Lu Ming and Bubbles had escaped some distance through the space-time tunnel, and had jumped out of the encirclement of the mini-emperor-to-be. Let's go! Lu Ming and Bubbles sped off into the distance. He planned to head to the residence of the vast C9 nations, and bring Yuan Tianjiao and the rest away. Damn it, none of you can escape, none of you can escape. Seeing that Lu Ming was about to leave, the Sage Master went crazy and started shouting madly. Boom! As the Sage Master shouted, the Time God Mountain rumbled and shook violently. Break, break, break! The Sage Master roared, his entire body emitting endless black light. The Divine Time Mountain continued to explode and shatter. Then, the entire Time God Mountain cracked from the middle. Clang, clang, clang. Everyone could hear the clanging of chains coming from the Time God Mountain. That's... Lu Ming's eyes suddenly focused. This was because he saw a huge and majestic figure in the crack of the Time God Mountain. This figure was in the form of an adult, but it was extremely huge. It was shrouded in a layer of black light, and its specific appearance could not be seen clearly. His 4 limbs and neck were each shackled by a huge iron chain. At this moment, the Sage Master turned into a black light and entered the huge black shadow. Break! The black shadow let out a loud roar. And his voice was actually the same as the Sage Master's. Clang, clang, clang. The chains, the God of Time Mountain, and even the entire God of Time Island were shaking. And NBSB, a terrifying time energy, surged out of the massive black shadow, spreading in all directions. All! Help! Some of the absolute saints let out shrill cries as the power of time passed through them. The next moment, their bodies withered and turned into skeletons. Even some Emperor-to-be were the same. Not good, let's go. Run! The remaining Emperor-to-be's expression changed, and they fled frantically. Die, all of you must die. And NBSP break. The massive black figure roared as it began to struggle, sending even more time energy surging outward in waves. No! Some emperors-to-be were rushed by the power of time, and let out roars of unwillingness. In the midst of their roars, they turned into bones. Lu Ming and Bubbles increased their speed to the maximum, and charged towards Yuan Tianjiao and the rest. At that moment, Lu Ming was suddenly enlightened about many things. He finally knew why the Sage Master had told him to destroy those altars. That was because the Sage Master was the massive figure of the Time God Mountain. It was the soul power that had split off from that massive figure. The giant figure was obviously sealed here, and the 3 altars were the key to the seal. The Sage Master had asked Lu Ming to destroy the 3 altars, so that he could free himself. As Lu Ming had destroyed an altar, the power of the seal had weakened. That was why the other party was able to destroy the Divine Mountain and reveal himself. However, there were still 2 more altars, and the other party might not be able to come out. At this moment, Lu Ming was secretly glad that he did not destroy the 2 altars. Otherwise, they would be in danger when the huge figure appeared. That Sage Master really had a good scheme. It was said that the Divine Light Sacred Island was built by the Sage Master. Every 3 years, he would recruit a batch of powerful geniuses to cultivate on the Divine Time Island. Lu Ming suspected that the Sage Master had established the Divine Time Island, gathered the paragons, and nurtured these people. His goal was to wait for these people to become stronger, so that they could destroy the altar. However, an ordinary Emperor-to-be would not be able to do so. This time, Lu Ming and the rest came to help the other party. Boom! Boom! The fluctuations of the Time God Mountain grew more and more violent, as the terrifying power of time burst forth in all directions. The area it covered was getting wider and wider. If this continued, the entire Time God Island would probably be enveloped. Bubbles' space-time tunnel, Lu Ming said to Pow Pow. Bubbles nodded. With a wave of her hands, a space-time tunnel appeared. Lu Ming entered the space-time tunnel, and in the next moment, he appeared at Yuan Tianjiao and the rest's residence. At this moment, the quaking of the Time God Mountain had also alarmed the other side. Many figures had gathered together and looked in the direction of the Time God Mountain in confusion. Lu Ming's sudden appearance by Yuan Tianjiao's side gave them a huge shock. Lu Ming, what's going on? Yuan Tianjiao asked subconsciously. There's no time, it'll take you guys away. Lu Ming took out the mountain and river diagram. A beam of light enveloped Yuan Tianjiao and the rest, and they were kept into the mountain and river diagram. You guys hurry up and escape, Lu Ming shouted at the others. Then, he soared into the sky and rushed out of the Divine Time Island. As for the others, they couldn't care so much. Whether they could escape with their lives would depend on their luck. Those people were stunned, not knowing what had happened. I guess this person offended the Sage Master, and is being hunted down. We've come to the sacred island with great difficulty. How can we leave just because of his words? The people from Xianling Kingdom snorted coldly. Lu Ming had killed so many of their experts. Why would they believe his words? The people from the other countries nodded, and agreed with what the man from Mysterious Spirit Highland said. They felt that Lu Ming must have offended the Sage Master, and was running for his life. But following that, the rumbling sounds from the depths of the Divine Time Island grew more and more intense. Following that, they saw streaks of light shooting out of the Divine Time Island with astonishing speed. They were all foreign emperors to be, and some of them had been able to escape here. It seems like something extraordinary has really happened. Some people's faces were pale. In the next moment, screams rang out from the depths of the Divine Time Island. One figure after another shot up into the sky, wanting to escape. However, an invisible fluctuation spread out, and those people were fixed in the air. Then, their bodies shriveled up as if time had been deprived of them. The older ones directly decayed. The younger ones also aged in an instant, then rotted and turned into dry bones. Run! These people were finally scared and rushed out like crazy. However, they hadn't flown very far when the terrifying power of time swept over them. Their bodies froze in the air and then rapidly aged, turning into bones that fell to the ground. Even their bones began to rot and turn into powder. At this moment, Bubbles opened up a space-time tunnel once again. The two of them rushed out of the space-time Divine Island's boundary and flew into the distance at top speed. Roar! A terrifying roar came from the temporal island. It was filled with anger and unwillingness. Following that, Lu Ming saw a streak of rainbow light rushing out of the Divine Time Island in a panic and rapidly disappearing into the distance. They were several emperor-to-be experts. The others who didn't escape were probably dead. Lu Ming sighed and flew to the distance to observe from afar. After that, a few more indignant roars rang out from the Divine Time Island before dying down. It seemed that the huge figure had not escaped. However, in the entire temporal Divine Island, other than those who had managed to escape, no one else had managed to escape. Follow current novels on topnovelfool.com. Chapter 1959. Chapter 1959 Law Light. Chapter 1959. Chapter 1959 Law Light. What is that figure on the Time God Mountain? It's that terrifying. Lu Ming furrowed his eyebrows tightly. The giant figure was too terrifying. Its strength was unfathomable, even more terrifying than a true emperor. Could it be that the celestial Arch has suppressed them here? Lu Ming thought about it carefully, and felt that it was very likely. The world here was originally suppressed by the Heavenly Emperor Mountain. It only appeared when the two great sovereigns fought, and the Heavenly Emperor Mountain exploded. It was very likely that he was a powerful existence suppressed by the celestial Arch. Then, Lu Ming shook his head, turned into a ray of light, and left the place. That kind of powerful existence was not something he could interfere with, so there was no point in thinking too much. Lu Ming headed in the direction of the vast C9 nations. A few days later, he brought Yuan Tianjiao and the rest back to the Mingyan country. Heavenly Flood Dragon am leaving. In the palace of Mingyan country, Yuan Tianjiao's delicate body trembled slightly, and her eyes were a little complicated. Although she knew that Lu Ming would leave sooner or later, because they were not from the same world, she did not expect that day to come so quickly. In the end, he's just a passerby in the Mingyan country. Yuan Tianjiao sighed in his heart, and collected his thoughts. He revealed a smile on his face and asked, "Where are you going? Are we going back to outer space? Do you know that there are other worlds apart from the 10,000 sea realm?" Lu Ming shook his head. Wan Tianjiao thought for a moment. There are legends. It's said that there are 9 worlds similar to the 10,000 sea realm. They are all connected. Only Saint Emperors can travel there. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. He knew that Wan Tianjiao was talking about the world of the lotus flower. In the world of the lotus, 9 petals were 9 worlds. Do you know where the passageway is? Lu Ming continued to ask. Legend has it that in the far west of the 10,000 sea realm, there is a void passage that leads to other worlds. Yuan Tianjiao said. The far west. Lu Ming nodded. A storage ring appeared in his hand, and he passed it to Yuan Tianjiao. Heavenly Flood Dragon. There are some saint herbs, saint weapons, battle formations, and cultivation techniques in here. Keep them. They will be helpful to the Mingyan country. Yuan Tianjiao cast a complicated look at Lu Ming, then took the storage ring and said, Lu Ming, take care. Take care. We'll meet again if we're fated. Lu Ming cupped his fists, then soared into the sky and disappeared from Yuan Tianjiao's sight. One wonder if we will meet again in this life, after we part today. A long sigh was heard. Lu Ming was extremely fast. Like a flash of light, he flew toward the far west of the 10,000 sea realm. The endless ocean and the islands flitted past Lu Ming. With Lu Ming's current speed, if he used his full strength, it would be terrifying. He was much faster than the space-breaking flying shuttle that was 20 times faster. After a few days, the ocean became more and more desolate. There were no more islands to be seen, only the endless ocean. After 2 more days, a loud rumbling sound came from afar. Lu Ming discovered that the void in the distance was in chaos. It was as if a huge abyss had appeared out of thin air and divided the sky into 2. It was the endless void turbulence. Lu Ming approached and a powerful force hit him. It was the power of the void. If one's cultivation was not high enough, they would be crushed into pieces by the power of the void. However, to Lu Ming, it did not affect him much. Chirping bubbles cried out. His body moved, and he charged into the chaotic space currents like a fish in water. Lu Ming smiled and stepped in as well. Chi chi chi. The void turbulence was everywhere, and it kept rushing towards Lu Ming, forming a terrifying cutting force. Lu Ming circulated the chaos laws throughout his body to resist the cutting power of the void. The laws of chaos trembled slightly. I'm afraid ordinary absolute saints won't be able to resist it after a long time. Lu Ming pondered. Lu Ming and Bubbles continued to move forward. Not long after, Lu Ming saw a huge vortex floating in the void. The vortex was like a black hole, deep, mysterious, and terrifying. Even from a distance, one could feel the terrifying tearing force of the vortex. Lu Ming's expression turned grave. It seemed that the void turbulence was not completely free of danger. This kind of pitch-black vortex was very terrifying. It would be very dangerous if one were to enter by mistake. Moreover, the vortex was constantly moving. Following that, Lu Ming continued to move forward. He would discover a pitch-black vortex every once in a while. The void turbulence here was very long. After a day, Lu Ming and the rest still had not passed through. Brother Lu Ming, Bubbles is going to cultivate. Bubbles seemed to have understood something and said to Lu Ming, You can continue your cultivation. Lu Ming said. Bubble nodded and sat cross-legged in the middle of the turbulent void. The power of the turbulent void flow acted on Bubbles' body and passed through it, as though she was not in this dimension. Lu Ming stood not far away from the bubble, shrouded in the laws of chaos. While Bubbles was cultivating, he could also make use of the power of the void turbulence to temper his chaos laws. Time passed day by day. 7 days later, Bubbles' body suddenly emitted a ray of light. The light was very faint at first, but slowly, it became more and more intense and dazzling. This is space-time light. Lu Ming widened his eyes and was overjoyed. Anyone who cultivated a powerful law might be able to cultivate a type of law light. For example, the stellar river had produced the eternal light. Lu Ming had a deep memory of the power of the eternal light in the galaxy. Not only did the eternal light have terrifying offensive power, but it also had powerful defensive abilities. It could be used to attack and defend, and it could greatly increase one's combat power. But to want to cultivate this kind of law light, it was extremely, extremely difficult. In theory, the 10 ultimate laws and mini-king path laws all had the opportunity to cultivate the light of law. However, in reality, only a small number of people were able to cultivate it. The Son of Heaven, who had comprehended the 10 ultimate laws, had a higher chance of cultivating it. But it was not 100%. For example, Eternal Star River only managed to cultivate eternal light after reaching the great circle of the Absolute Saint stage. Back then, the Death Blade had not been able to cultivate the light of death. Lu Ming did not cultivate the light of chaos. As for the King Path laws, it was even more difficult to cultivate the light of laws. Only an extremely small number of king physiques could cultivate it. Once it was cultivated, one's combat strength would skyrocket, and one would be able to suppress heaven's favorites of the same level. Now that Bubbles had cultivated the space-time light, Lu Ming was naturally happy. Lu Ming guessed that Bubbles had swallowed a fruit from the divine tree of time. In addition to the void turbulence here, they had combined and gained some insights before they refined the light of time and space. At this moment, the space-time light was retracted. The bubble ended its cultivation and jumped onto Lu Ming's shoulder. Bubble's cultivation was still at the late-stage Absolute Saint realm, but her battle power was probably stronger than before. Now, even if Lu Ming were to go all out, it would be difficult to defeat Bubbles. Lu Ming smiled and continued to move forward. Follow current novels on topnovelfool.com. Chapter 1960. Chapter 1960. Intense battle in the chaotic space basin in the void turbulence. Lu Ming would be fine as long as he avoided the black vortex. After walking for a while, Lu Ming raised his eyebrows and stopped. That was because many figures had appeared in front of him. At a glance, there were about a dozen of them. However, the turbulent void currents blocked his vision, and Lu Ming could not see the specific appearance of the people. Obviously, the other party had also discovered him. The figure of the other party paused for a moment, then continued to step forward. Not long after, the dozen or so figures in front of him became clear. Luo Pokong. Lu Ming's eyes narrowed. Among the dozen or so people, he saw Luo Pokong's figure. In addition, there was another familiar face, Wu Fengchen of the Wind Race. At the same time, Luo Pokong and Feng Wuchen also saw him. Luo Pokong was stunned at first, but his opponent One's eyes lit up and emitted a cold killing intent. He shouted, "Lu Ming, it's actually you. Don't let him go, surround him." Buzz. And in BSB whoosh. Figures flickered around Luo Pokong and Feng Wuchen, surrounding Lu Ming. Powerful auras were locked onto Lu Ming. Emperors-to-be were all experts in the Emperor-to-be realm. Obviously, only those like Luo Pokong and Feng Wuchen, who had monarch weapons to protect their bodies, could step into the void turbulence. They were obviously the Emperor-to-be of the Daluo Heaven sect and the Wind Race. Ha ha ha, Lu Ming. One didn't expect to meet you here. This void turbulence shall be your burial ground. Luo Pokong laughed arrogantly. He had been defeated by Lu Ming several times, and could not wait to kill Lu Ming. Unfortunately, Lu Ming's combat strength was too terrifying, and he had too many heaven's favorites around him. Even Luo Tsangqiong was defeated by Lu Ming. Even the Eternal Star River had failed to kill Lu Ming. He had no chance at all in the Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy. However, there were more than a dozen Emperor-to-be experts beside him, and Feng Wuchen. Lu Ming was dead for sure. Lu Ming frowned. Even if he and Bubbles joined forces, they might not be able to defeat more than 10 Emperor-to-be. Kill. Lu Ming suddenly moved. He had the upper hand by striking first. Together with Bubbles, he charged towards the right. Bubbles waved her hand, and two transparent bubbles enveloped the two Emperor-to-be in front of her. Then, Lu Ming pointed two fingers and the chaotic finger of calamity exploded, bombarding the two Emperor-to-be. Although the two Emperors-to-be tried their best to resist, they were still severely injured. Their bodies were sent flying like cannonballs and almost exploded. The two Emperor-to-be were blasted away, and there was a hole in the encirclement. Lu Ming continued to flash forward. However, at this moment, a figure caught up with Lu Ming at an extremely fast speed. His iron fist was like a mountain as it smashed toward Lu Ming. The iron fist struck out, and the turbulent flow of the void was scattered, revealing a vacuum tunnel. Lu Ming's expression changed. What a terrifying punch. The prison-suppressing heaven art. At the critical moment, Lu Ming activated the prison-suppressing heavenly art and threw a punch as well. Boom. When the two fists collided, Lu Ming felt an extremely terrifying force surge towards him. Lu Ming felt his arms go numb, and he could not help but retreat. This person is so strong. Lu Ming's heart sank slightly as he looked at the middle-aged man in front of him. This brawny man's combat strength was extremely shocking, far beyond the other emperor-to-be. This person's spiritual body is extraordinary. It's a high-grade heaven spiritual body. Lu Ming had a thought. Of course, there were strong and weak emperor-to-be combat strength. Lu Ming was not afraid of those who broke through to the emperor-to-be realm with their earth spiritual body. He could even defeat and kill them. However, if a heavenly spirit body broke through to the emperor-to-be realm, his combat strength would undoubtedly be much stronger. The brawny man in front of him had broken through to the emperor-to-be realm with a superior heavenly spirit body. Such a person was already a top talent when he was young. He was only slightly weaker than the body of a king, but his combat strength was extremely shocking. With Lu Ming's current cultivation, he was no match for him. Boom! The man took another step forward and charged at Lu Ming. Chirping, Bubbles waved his hands and endless void turbulence gushed towards this person. However, this person's battle prowess was indeed shocking. His fists were like mountains as he continuously punched out, breaking apart the chaotic currents in the void. Bubble, don't fight this person head-on. Go the other way. Lu Ming sent a voice transmission to Bubbles. The two of them moved and rushed to the other side. At this moment, the other emperor-to-be also launched an attack on Lu Ming and the others. More than a dozen terrifying divine abilities drove the void turbulence and drowned Lu Ming and the others. Space-time light appeared on Bubbles' body. He waved his hands and space-time turbulence rolled back towards his opponent, causing a continuous rumbling sound. Lu Ming moved and rushed to an emperor-to-be. He pressed his hands together, and 9 illusionary prison-suppressing steels appeared and pressed down on the man. The man let out a long howl and tried his best to resist, but he was still forced to retreat. Following that, countless runes appeared on Lu Ming's left hand. He cast a sealing force and sealed the man while he pointed with all his might with his right hand. And MBSB, a chaos finger of tribulation, shot toward this person. Kill! At this moment, the others, including the emperor-to-be with the superior class heavenly spirit body, also launched an attack on Lu Ming and the rest. Brother Lu Ming, leave it to me, Chirpy. Bubbles rushed out and spurted out with her small mouth. More than 10 transparent bubbles appeared and covered more than 10 emperor-to-be experts. More than a dozen emperor-to-be froze at the same time. Then, they burst out their strength and hit the transparent bubble. As for the brawny man, his combat strength was indeed astonishing. After a few consecutive punches, he shattered the transparent bubble. However, this delay had given Lu Ming enough time. That emperor-to-be was sealed by Lu Ming's sealing power. Then the chaotic finger of tribulation fell. The emperor-to-be screamed in pain, and half of his body exploded. Buzz! However, Lu Ming did not give him any chance to react. The Tai Chi formation disc flew out from between his brows, and 2 yin-yang fish swords shot out rapidly, slashing down and killing the man. Damn it, a bunch of trash! Luo Pokong roared from afar. More than a dozen emperor-to-be surrounded Lu Ming and his companion. Lu Ming had actually killed one of them. This was a disgrace. Use the sovereign weapon to stop this little girl. Leave Lu Ming to me, he ordered. The middle-aged man shouted. I'll do it. An emperor-to-be from the wind race waved his hand, and a small pagoda appeared. It then grew rapidly like a mountain, and endless gales whistled. Like a cage, it enveloped the bubble. At the same time, the middle-aged brawny man charged at Lu Ming with all his might. His fist force was terrifying. Every punch caused the void to shake violently. Lu Ming pointed a few times, but the chaos finger of tribulation was also defeated after colliding with the other party. Lu Ming was at a disadvantage. On the other side, Paoba was dashing left and right to avoid the giant pagoda. However, there were too many emperor-to-be on the other side. There were more than 10 of them. They locked onto all directions and kept launching attacks. They blocked Bubbles' escape route in a brutal and direct way. There were even two of them, who took out their monarch weapons and blocked Bubbles' path of retreat. For a moment, the bubble was trapped, and it was difficult for it to help Lu Ming. Buzz! Lu Ming controlled the Tai Chi disc array and pressed it down on the middle-aged man. At the same time, the Dian elixir furnace appeared and enlarged rapidly, smashing toward the man. I have a monarch weapon too, the middle-aged man said coldly. A giant hammer appeared in his hand, and he swung it at the Tai Chi formation disc and the Da Yin elixir furnace. Chapter 1961. Chapter 1961. Qiu Yu is seriously injured. Clang. The Tai Chi formation disc was sent flying back. Then, the giant hammer hit the Da Yin elixir furnace. The Da Yin elixir furnace trembled and was also sent flying back. Men, help me kill Lu Ming! The middle-aged man shouted. Two Emperor-to-be rushed toward Lu Ming to cooperate with the middle-aged man. With the cooperation of the two Emperor-to-be, the middle-aged man was even more unscrupulous. The giant hammer was the size of a house, and it kept smashing toward Lu Ming with an amazing momentum. Thump! Thump! Lu Ming blocked it with the Dian elixir furnace, which kept retreating. And MBSB hoo-hoo. At this moment, a terrifying whistling sound came from behind Lu Ming. A huge, pitch-black vortex was slowly moving toward him. Ha ha ha, Lu Ming, you're dead. The middle-aged man was overjoyed. Even the heavens wanted Lu Ming to die. At this moment, a black vortex moved over, leaving Lu Ming no room to retreat. Chirping, Bubbles shouted and wanted to help, but the three monarch weapons had locked down three directions. The other quasi-sages were bombarding her. Although Bubbles' space-time law was profound, the opponent was using a brutal method to disrupt the void. Bubbles could only protect herself and couldn't help. At that moment, a pair of cold eyes were staring at Lu Ming from behind the black vortex. This man was actually Luo Tsangxiong. In fact, Luo Tsangxiong was with Luo Pokong and the others. It was just that he had been cultivating alone in the void before, so Lu Ming did not notice him. He heard the commotion and rushed over. He did not expect to see Lu Ming. And NBSB he hid behind the pitch-black vortex and used the law of deprivation to condense the divine imprint of deprivation, constantly draining the energy in the air. The more time passed, the more energy was stripped away, and the more powerful the power of the divine seal would be. By now, the power of the divine seal had reached a terrifying level. Even Luo Tsangxiong himself was shocked. Lu Ming, I'll use this move to send you on your way. Luo Kangqiang's eyes flashed with ferocity when he saw an opening when Lu Ming was suppressed by the middle-aged man and the two Emperor-to-be. Luo Tsangxiong did not hesitate to flash out. The divine seal of deprivation flew out rapidly and pressed down on Lu Ming. Luo Tsangxiong. Lu Ming's heart trembled. The power of the deprivation divine seal was too shocking. It even surpassed the middle-aged man's attack by a large margin. At this time, Lu Ming was resisting the attacks of the middle-aged man and the other two Emperor-to-be with all his might. He did not expect that Luo Tsangxiong would suddenly attack from behind the vortex. It was too late for him to dodge. Qiu Yu had first entered Yellow Rock World. After exploring a few of the ruins of this world, she also came to the edge of Yellow Rock World and entered the void turbulence, wanting to head to another world to explore. She cultivated in the void turbulence as she walked. After walking for a few days, she suddenly heard a violent boom from ahead. Qiu Yu retracted her aura and walked forward. She saw Lu Ming fighting with someone. Just as she was about to help, she saw that Luo Tsangxiong had suddenly attacked Lu Ming. At this moment, Qiu Yu pounced forward without any hesitation. "Young master, be careful!" A crisp sound rang in Lu Ming's ears. Then, he saw a white figure rushing from the side at high speed toward the divine seal of deprivation. "Qiu Yue!" Lu Ming's heart trembled. Then he heard a loud boom. Qiu Yu's body flew towards Lu Ming. In the air, her blood was red, like a beautiful blood-colored rose. "Qiu Yue!" At this moment, Lu Ming roared loudly, his eyes red. Luo Kangqiang's move was too powerful. Lu Ming knew very well that Qiu Yu would not be able to withstand it. Lu Ming let out a long roar. and controlled the Dian elixir furnace with all his might to block the attacks of the middle-aged man and the two emperor-to-be. He moved his body and caught Qiuyu. At this moment, Qiuyu's face was as white as snow. Blood was flowing out of her mouth, and she was extremely weak. It was like a weak candle that could be extinguished at any moment. Qiuyu, it's you. How is that possible? Luo Tsangqiong roared in disbelief. Why did Qiuyu suddenly appear and block his sure-kill move? He was stunned for a moment and forgot to attack. The middle-aged man also knew that Luo Tsangqiong had been pursuing Qiuyu. When he saw this scene, he couldn't help but stop. Qiuyu, why are you so stupid? Why did you block for me? Lu Ming hugged Qiuyu, his heart trembling. With his cultivation and the strength of his body, even if he were to take a blow head-on, he would at most be heavily injured and might not die. However, it was a different story for Qiuyu. Young master, I've said before that I'll always be by your side. Qiuyu spoke, but her voice was weak. Her aura was also getting weaker. Lu Ming held Qiuyu's hand, and saint energy flowed into her body continuously, protecting her heart. However, it was still useless. Qiuyu's breath became weaker and weaker, and her eyes slowly closed. Lu Ming, hand Qiuyu over to me. Even if she dies, she'll still be mine. Luo Tsangqiong said coldly. Luo Tsangqiong. At this moment, Lu Ming looked at Luo Tsangqiong with bloodshot eyes. His body was filled with an extremely cold killing intent, like a demon from the 9 netherworlds purgatory. 111 definitely kill you, and 111 flatten the Daluo heaven sex sooner or later. Lu Ming said in a cold and emotionless voice. Luo Tsangqiong felt a chill run down his spine when Lu Ming stared at him coldly. He roared. If you still want to kill me, then I'll let you both die here today as a pair of mandarin ducks, sharing the same fate. Boom! A terrifying aura burst out of Luo Kangqiang's body, and a monarch weapon appeared. Luo Tsangqiong was the grandson of the great sovereign, and the monarch weapon he had was given by the great sovereign. It was extremely terrifying. Let's attack together and kill them. Luo Tsangqiong roared. The sovereign weapon carried a terrifying power and charged at Lu Ming. At the same time, the middle-aged man made his move. His giant hammer broke through the air and headed for Lu Ming. Luo Tsangqiong, I will definitely kill you in the future. Lu Ming said coldly. With a single thought, the Dian elixir furnace did not protect him, but blasted towards the bubble. As for himself, he recalled Qiuyu into the mountain and river diagram with a thought. At the same time, Lu Ming used the Tai Chi formation disc and the chaos gem to block in front of him. He retreated quickly and rushed toward the black vortex. Boom! Boom! The Tai Chi formation plate was sent flying back by the middle-aged man, while the rock of chaos flew toward Lu Ming after being hit by Luo Kangqiang's monarch weapon. The terrifying power increased Lu Ming's speed, and he flew directly into the black vortex. At once, an extremely powerful force acted on Lu Ming's body. His figure disappeared into the vortex. On the other side, the Da Yin elixir furnace smashed down and sent one of the monarch weapons that trapped bubbles flying. In a flash, bubbles charged out of the encirclement and into the pitch-black vortex. Stop that pill furnace! Someone shouted and wanted to stop the Great Yin elixir furnace. However, the Great Yin elixir furnace had long recognized Lu Ming as its master and was very intelligent. It blew away a few emperor-to-be and rushed into the dark vortex, disappearing. Chapter 1962. Chapter 1962. In the void storm, damn it! Luo Tsangqiong roared with cold killing intent. Lu Ming is dead for sure after entering this black vortex. Luo Pokong said with a cold smile as he stepped on air. That's right, he's dead. The other emperors-to-be also smiled. There was a terrifying destructive power in the black vortex. They were all shocked. Lu Ming would definitely die if he entered. Not necessarily. Luo Kangqiang's expression was very cold. Lu Ming is very terrifying and unpredictable. Moreover, there's another person who understands the law of time and space going in with him. He might not die. These words caused the hearts of the others to tremble. Indeed, Lu Ming was very terrifying to begin with. In addition, he had a person who knew the space-time law. Even if he entered the pitch-black vortex, he might not be in any trouble. In that case, Lu Ming was the one who took the initiative to go in just now. Everyone's expression was ugly, but they had no confidence in going in to pursue. After all, the danger was unpredictable. Lu Ming, even if he doesn't die, it'll kill him sooner or later. Luo Zhangqiong snorted coldly. They did not leave, but guarded the place in case Lu Ming came out. They had guessed correctly. Lu Ming had indeed entered the dark vortex on his own accord. It wasn't that he didn't dare to fight. He still had a trump card. However, he was worried about Qiu Yu's safety. Qiu Yu's injuries were too severe. She had to be treated as soon as possible, or she would be in real danger. As soon as Lu Ming entered the pitch-black vortex, a terrifying destructive cutting force surged towards him from all directions. Lu Ming circulated his holy power and controlled the chaos laws at the same time, covering his entire body to resist the attack. Zzz. The cutting force kept hitting Lu Ming's body, causing the chaos laws to tremble, as if they were about to collapse. This cutting power is indeed amazing. Lu Ming circulated the chaos laws at full force to resist. At the same time, there was a void storm in the black vortex, pushing Lu Ming aimlessly into the distance. Whoosh! Not long after, there was a flash of light and bubbles appeared beside Lu Ming. Bubbles controlled space-time, and had already cultivated the space-time light. The void storm could not do anything to her. Bubbles appeared beside Lu Ming. They set up space-time laws around them, blocking the void storm outside. Buzz! The next moment, the Dian elixir furnace flew over, and was put away by Lu Ming. Qiu Yue. Lu Ming was thinking about Qiu Yu. With a thought, Qiu Yu came out of the mountain and river diagram. At this moment, Qiu Yu was unconscious and her breathing was weak. Luo Kangqiang's attack was too powerful. He had hidden at the side, and used the law of deprivation to deprive the outside world of energy. He had accumulated a terrifying amount of power, and had intended to kill Lu Ming in one blow. In a hurry, Qiu Yu only wanted to block that move for Lu Ming. She was too seriously injured. Damn it! Lu Ming gritted his teeth. He could not wait to crush Luo Kangqiang's bones and scatter his ashes. Qiu Yue, I won't let anything happen to you. Lu Ming muttered and took out a healing pill. He melted the pill with his holy power, and fused it into Qiu Yu's body. However, Qiu Yu's injuries were still not getting better. Brother Lu Ming, try the fruit of the divine tree of time. The bubble opened its mouth, and the divine tree of time appeared. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. The divine tree of time originally had 2 milky white fruits. Bubble had swallowed one, and there was still one left. Since the divine tree of time could double a martialist's longevity, it was actually equivalent to increasing their vitality. This meant that the fruit of the divine tree of time contained powerful vitality. This fruit might be able to save Qiu Yu. Lu Ming plucked the fruit, and refined it into Qiu Yu's body with holy power. As expected, the fruit of the divine time tree contained boundless vitality that seeped into Qiu Yu's limbs and bones. The injuries on her body were rapidly recovering, and her aura had also stabilized. However, he did not wake up. Brother Lu Ming, it seems like Sister Qiya's injuries are too severe. Just a fruit of the divine tree of time is not enough to wake her up. Pao Pao sized up Qiu Yu before saying. Lu Ming circulated his saint energy throughout Qiu Yu's body. After a while he sighed. Even though Qiu Yu's life force had stabilized, it was just as Bubbles had said. It was not easy to wake her up. Lu Ming caressed Qiu Yu's face, and wiped the blood off the corner of her mouth. He said softly, Qiu Yue, no matter what, I won't let anything happen to you. I won't let go of Luo Zhangqiong and the Daoyuo Heaven sect. At the end of his sentence, Lu Ming's voice turned cold, and a cold killing intent burst forth. It had been far too dangerous this time. Fortunately, he had the fruit of the divine tree of time. Otherwise, the consequences would have been dire. If anything happened to Qiu Yu, Lu Ming would never be at ease. Qiu Yu was still the same as before. She did not say much, and did not have many requests. She only stayed by Lu Ming's side silently, and was willing to give up everything for him, including her life. Lu Ming held Qiu Yu's small hand as he recalled the scenes of their childhood. After a long time, Lu Ming sent Qiu Yu back into the mountain and river diagram and placed her under the path understanding ancient tree, hoping that it would be of help to her. At this moment, Lu Ming took a look at his surroundings. They were still in the chaotic void storm. The bubble enveloped the surroundings with space-time laws and broke through the void storm. Bubble, how do we get out? Lu Ming asked. In the aspect of space, nature bubbles were more skilled. Brother Lu Ming, with my current cultivation, I can't force my way out of this space. I need to wait. I need to find a weak point in the space and rush out in one fell swoop. Bubbles explained. Lu Ming nodded. They continued to wait while observing their surroundings, looking for an opportunity. As time passed, Bubbles' power grew weaker and weaker. If this continued, they would be in danger when Bubbles' power was exhausted. I don't even know where they're floating to, Lu Ming pondered. It was very dangerous to drift in the void like this. It would be fine if he drifted to other worlds. However, if he drifted to the void of eternal nothingness, he would die without the cultivation of a martial supreme. Brother Lu Ming, I got it. Look over there. Bubbles suddenly pointed to the right. Lu Ming looked over and saw that there were some fluctuations in the void. Let's attack with all our might and break out. Chirp chirp. Bubbles cried out as he controlled the laws of time to change direction and fly towards the source of the fluctuation. Chaos finger. Lu Ming used all his strength and pointed his finger. Now, Lu Ming's chaos finger of tribulation had reached 94% completion. The power of a full force point was astonishing. At the same time, the bubbles cooperated with Lu Ming to bombard the void. Boom! The void trembled violently. Then there was a hiss and a crack appeared. Lu Ming was overjoyed, and he rushed over with the bubble. As soon as he rushed through the crack, Lu Ming realized that he had appeared in a cave. Roar! A loud roar came from behind Lu Ming. The stench assailed his nostrils, and it was accompanied by a scorching aura. In front of Lu Ming, there was a burly man who looked at Lu Ming and Bubbles with a dumbfounded expression. Chapter 1963. Chapter 1963. The Myriad Beast Realm. Lu Ming's gaze swept across the area, and he saw a fiery red giant lizard behind him. It was staring at Lu Ming with wide eyes. In front of him was the middle-aged burly man. He was also looking at Lu Ming in shock. The man and the giant lizard exuded a powerful aura. They were both emperor-to-be existences. Through the traces at the scene, Lu Ming understood. The battle between the middle-aged man and the giant lizard must have caused a spatial fluctuation, causing the space to become fragile. They must have found out about it and attacked with all their might. With their cooperation, they pierced through the space and appeared here. Roar! At this moment, the giant lizard roared angrily, treating Lu Ming as the burly man's ally. It took a step forward and flames burst out of its body. It spat out a fireball at Lu Ming. Lu Ming threw a punch, and the illusionary image of the prison-suppressing steel appeared, destroying the giant lizard's fireball. Bang! Bang! The giant lizard stomped on the ground, and the cave rumbled as it pounced toward Lu Ming. The sharp claws tore through the air, as sharp as divine blades. At the same time, it bit at Lu Ming with its fangs. You're looking for death. Lu Ming's gaze turned cold. He was already filled with anger. The moment the giant lizard appeared, it charged at him. This made Lu Ming even angrier. Boom! Boom! Lu Ming's saint energy boiled as he threw a few punches at the giant lizard. Although the giant lizard had the combat strength of an emperor-to-be, it was still no match for Lu Ming in a head-on collision. It was forced to retreat by Lu Ming's attacks. Bang! Lu Ming leaped high and looked down from above. He punched the giant lizard's head, causing it to crash heavily onto the ground. Roar! The giant lizard's head hit the ground, and it let out a loud roar. Its scaly tail whipped at Lu Ming like an iron whip. Lu Ming grabbed the giant lizard's tail, lifted it up, and threw it towards the entrance of the cave. Buzz! The giant lizard was thrown out of the cave by Lu Ming. Roar! At this moment, a terrifying roar came from outside the cave. This roar did not come from the giant lizard, but from below the cave. The roar was so powerful that Lu Ming's eardrums vibrated, as if there was a supreme demon there. Then Lu Ming saw the giant lizard let out a terrified roar, and its body fell rapidly, as if it was attracted by some force. Roar! Roar! Then, the earth-shaking roars continued to ring out. A terrifying sound wave reverberated in the area. The middle-aged burly man's expression was grave. He kept his distance from Lu Ming, not daring to go out at all. "Senior, what's that outside?" Lu Ming asked. "I don't know." The middle-aged man shook his head. "Where is this place?" Lu Ming asked again. "The Myriad Beast Realm," the middle-aged man said. He sized Lu Ming up and said, "You should be the son of Chaos of the Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy, right?" Oh, Lu Ming's eyes lit up. It seemed that they were still in one of the 9 worlds of the world of the lotus flower. They had not gone too far. At this moment the roars outside stopped. Lu Ming was about to ask again when the middle-aged man rushed out of the cave and disappeared. Lu Ming was speechless. He followed them to the entrance of the cave and looked outside. His eyes widened involuntarily. The scene outside was extremely magnificent. The place he was in looked like the crater of a volcano, or a huge cave that led underground. He was standing on one of the walls of the cave. As far as the eye could see, the surrounding walls of the cave were densely packed with caves. In the middle of the cave, there were stone bridges that were connected to each other. The cave went all the way down, and it was dark down there. The roar just now had come from below. Lu Ming saw the middle-aged burly man leap onto a stone bridge and rush into a cave diagonally opposite him, disappearing. Lu Ming looked around again and realized that there were indeed figures flickering in some caves. Could it be that this place is a historical site of the Myriad Beast Realm, and many outsiders are exploring here? Lu Ming pondered. He saw some figures flickering out of some caves. They seemed to be very cautious. They landed on the stone bridges and waited cautiously for a moment. Then they jumped down to the stone bridge below. Just like that, they continued to go down and explore the caves below. Roar! At this moment, another earth-shattering roar sounded from the depths of the cave. Along with the roar, a terrifying suction force came from the depths of the cave, as if it wanted to swallow everything. Ah! A terrified scream was heard. Lu Ming saw an absolute saint powerhouse who happened to be in the air and did not land on the stone bridge. Instead, he was swallowed by the force and disappeared into the endless abyss. Lu Ming gasped. What was down there? Even an absolute saint could not resist it. The giant lizard from before was also devoured by the force. However, Lu Ming realized that those who landed on the stone bridge were fine. It was as if the stone bridge could block the devouring power. No wonder those people were so careful when they jumped on the stone bridge. This place is full of danger. Lu Ming muttered and looked around. He realized that the cave he was in had no other exit. The only way out was the cave in front of him. Let's rest here for a while, Bubble. You should recover first, Lu Ming said to Pow Pow. Previously, in the Void Storm, Bubble had circulated her space-time laws to resist, and had expended a lot of energy. This was a good opportunity for her to recuperate and rest. Okay, brother Lu Ming, chirp chirp. Pow Pow nodded, and took out a large number of origin stones and saint herbs to start recovering. Lu Ming also sat cross-legged, devouring the rough stone to regulate his breathing. Not long after, Lu Ming's condition had returned to its peak. At this moment Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. The Stone of Chaos appeared in his hand. Previously, Lu Ming had used the Rock of Chaos to block the blow from Luo Qingqiang's sovereign weapon. At that time, Lu Ming had heard an obscure sound, which seemed to be the sound of the Rock of Chaos cracking. Lu Ming took it out and examined it. Indeed, there was a crack on the Rock of Chaos. The Rock of Chaos is indestructible, but it was actually cracked. That Luo Qingqiang's monarch weapon is really powerful. Lu Ming had a thought, and then thought that since the Chaos Gem had cracked, he might as well break it open and take a look. Immediately, Lu Ming circulated all the energy in his body, grabbed the Chaos Gem, and tried to break it. Kacha! The Rock of Chaos produced an even louder sound, and the crack became even bigger. As expected, it can be pried open. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. If not for the crack that had appeared on the Rock of Chaos, it would not have been able to be opened. Lu Ming continued to exert force. A moment later, the Rock of Chaos was completely broken into 2 halves. Ding! 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 Inside the Rock of Chaos, there were 2 small crystals that fell to the ground. This is Chaos crystal. Lu Ming's eyes lit up at the sight of the two crystals. Chapter 1964. Chapter 1964. Refining the light of chaos, he pried open the chaos gem, and two chaos crystals fell out. Lu Ming was overjoyed. This was because chaos crystals were formed by the condensation of chaos qi. During the auction, the other party had said that there was no chaos qi left in the chaos gem, which was why the price had been so low. However, no one had expected that the chaos gems contained chaos qi. Instead, all the chaos qi had gathered together and turned into chaos crystals. Chaos crystals were nearly fused with chaos gems, so it was impossible to discover them without cracking the chaos gems. To be earned, I've really earned a lot. Lu Ming checked carefully and confirmed that there were only two chaos crystals in the chaos gem. Lu Ming immediately controlled the chaos laws and enveloped the two chaos crystals. Buzz! Buzz! When the laws of chaos enveloped the chaos crystals, the two chaos crystals trembled slightly and floated in the air with the laws of chaos. Then, the two chaos crystals melted like ice and turned into liquid. Finally, they turned into two streams of air. Chaos qi. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. Back then, he had fused a stream of chaos qi into his body. Naturally, he could tell at a glance that these two streams of qi were also chaos qi. Then he'll refine two more. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. With a thought, he controlled the chaos laws and guided the chaos qi into his body. Lu Ming's physical body had already refined a stream of chaos qi. It was very compatible with the chaos qi, and there was no difficulty in refining it. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. Pao Pao had already recovered. She stayed at the entrance of the cave to protect Lu Ming. In the past few days, terrifying roars would ring out from the depths of the cave from time to time, accompanied by the sound of iron chains clashing. It was as if a supreme great demon was locked down below and was struggling to escape. Lu Ming turned a deaf ear to all of this. He was focused on refining the chaos qi. In 3 days, the two wisps of chaos qi had been completely refined into Lu Ming's body. They seeped into his muscles, bones, blood, and permeated every part of his body. The strength of Lu Ming's physical body had greatly improved, and was even more tyrannical. His body seemed to have a layer of hazy light. With a thought, it would become as heavy as a mountain, indestructible and firm. Buzz! At that moment, his body seemed to resonate with the laws of chaos. When a warrior reached the 3rd stage of the half-saint realm, he would be able to infuse his body with the laws. The laws would be highly compatible with his body. The laws would be contained in his body, which would increase the strength of his body. At this moment, the chaos laws were constantly surging into Lu Ming's body. His body was numb, as if a terrifying power was about to be born. Buzz! Not long after, a ray of light emerged from Lu Ming's body. Light of chaos, chirp chirp. At the side, Pao Pao blinked her large eyes, revealing a look of joy. Lu Ming was refining 2 wisps of chaotic qi. In addition to the previous one, he had 3 wisps of chaotic qi in total, which greatly strengthened his spirit body. He also took advantage of the momentum and resonated with the laws of chaos, refining the light of chaos in one fell swoop. The light of chaos was faint at first, but as time passed, its color became darker and darker. Finally, it turned into a ray of light of chaotic colors that surrounded Lu Ming. After a while, Lu Ming opened his eyes, and the light of chaos was retracted into his body. My Buddhist strength has increased by another level. Lu Ming sensed it carefully, and his eyes flashed. He had not expected that the chaos gem he had bought unintentionally back then would actually allow him to refine the light of chaos. It was truly a great opportunity. If he did not have the 2 strands of chaotic qi, he did not know when he would be able to refine the chaotic light. This time, although his cultivation did not advance, his combat strength had soared. Roar! Roar! At this moment, a terrifying roar sounded outside the cave. Gusts of strong wind whistled out from the depths of the cave. Clang, clang, clang. At the same time, there was the sound of iron chains colliding. Lu Ming's expression turned serious. He could not help but think of the Divine Time Island. On the Divine Time Island, there was also a gigantic living being sealed within. It was chained up and was incomparably powerful and unfathomable. The clanking of chains could be heard from this place as well. Could it be that there was a supreme expert sealed beneath the cavern, just like the Divine Time Island? The voice roared for a while before it stopped. Lu Ming and Bubbles walked to the entrance of the cave and looked outside. They saw some figures leaping out of the caves and onto the stone bridges. With the help of the stone bridges, they went down. Boom! Boom! Suddenly, there was a roar from the bottom of the cave. At the same time, a dazzling light burst out and shot into the sky. There were people fighting in the cave. Lu Ming could not help but channel the holy power into his eyes. His vision instantly improved, and he looked down into the cave. This way, the scenery at the bottom of the cave became clear. At the bottom of the cave, there was a huge platform. In the middle of the platform, there was a palace. Around the platform, there were 4 stone bridges that were connected to the walls of the cave. At this moment, there was a group of people fighting on the platform. Phoenix Spirit Long Chun. Lu Ming's eyes narrowed, and a murderous intent flashed in them. At that moment, Huang Ling, Long Chun, and a few elders, who should be emperor-to-be experts of Phoenix Palace and Divine Elephant Sect, were being besieged by a group of people. Lu Ming could tell at a glance that they were from the Hung family, because they used the Eternal Spring Law. At this moment, Feng Ling, Long Chun, and the others were in danger. They were surrounded by the other party. There were more people on the other side, and they were all emperor-to-be, 6 of them. On the other hand, there were only 3 emperors-to-be in Huang Ling's group. There was still a gap between Huang Ling and Long Chen's combat strength and an emperor-to-bes. Kill these 3 old guys first. Leave the 2 younger ones behind. These 2 have a close relationship with Lu Ming. Leave them behind and ask Lu Ming to exchange the celestial Varch sword for them, he ordered. One of the Hung family members said coldly. Their attacks were like a storm, heading toward the 3 emperor-to-be from Phoenix Palace and Divine Elephant Sect. As for Feng Ling and Long Chun, they only had to restrain them. A burly elder of the Divine Elephant Sect had his dantian pierced through by a sword from an emperor-to-be of the Hung family. The elder roared and fought back with all his might, striking his opponent with a palm. However, the opponent quickly retreated after being stabbed. The burly elder of the Divine Elephant Sect's final counterattack, before his death, only slightly injured him, not seriously injuring him. Long Chun, you guys must get out of here. Die. The tall and sturdy elder of the Divine Elephant Sect roared in anger. His body fell heavily to the ground, and he stopped breathing. Damn it! Long Chun roared, his eyes bloodshot. Haha, one really want to rush out. Dream on. One of the emperor-to-be from the Hung family sneered. He strode forward and attacked Huang Ling with a terrifying force. He wanted to take her down. At this moment, a transparent bubble suddenly appeared and enveloped him. His body froze. Then, a prison-suppressing steel fell from the sky and hit his body. Bang! The body of this emperor-to-be from the Hung family was torn into pieces. Chapter 1965. Chapter 1965. Killing the Hung clan emperor-to-be in succession. A phantom of the prison-suppressing steel fell from the sky and shattered an emperor-to-be of the Hung family. Then, a young figure landed in front of Feng Ling and Long Chun. The figure was of course Lu Ming. Seeing that Huang Ling and Long Chun were surrounded by the Hung family's emperor-to-be, Lu Ming used the stone bridge to rush over. Lu Ming! Huang Ling and Long Chun were overjoyed to see Lu Ming. It's Lu Ming! The emperor-to-be of the Hung family was shocked. Hung clan kill! Lu Ming shouted, his killing intent surging out like a tide. Haha, you want to kill us? Lu Ming, you've come at the right time. 111 finish you off, and take back the celestial Varch sword. That's right, it really didn't take much effort to find it after searching high and low. The emperor-to-be from the Hung family sneered and felt happy. This time, the Hung family had 2 missions in the Lotus world. The first was to explore the ruins left behind by the Celestial Emperor. The second was to kill Lu Ming and retrieve the Celestial Emperor's sword. They were looking for Lu Ming, but they did not expect Lu Ming to deliver himself to them. Lu Ming, you have to be careful. They have a very powerful person. Let's charge out together. Huang Ling sent a voice transmission to Lu Ming. Very strong, I'd like to try. Lu Ming's eyes glowed even more sharply. He just so happened to have refined 2 wisps of chaotic qi and the chaotic light. His strength had greatly increased, and he wanted to see how strong he was. You guys keep an eye on that little girl, who can control the space-time law. Leave Lu Ming to me. A burly emperor-to-be from the Hung family stepped toward Lu Ming. The other emperor-to-be from the Hung family locked onto Bubbles to prevent her from helping. Boom! The burly emperor-to-be from the Hung family threw a punch at Lu Ming. The moment he punched, the river of laws surrounded his fist, making the power of the punch even more shocking. If anyone below emperor-to-be was hit by this punch, they would be crushed into pieces. However, Lu Ming was not an ordinary martial artist. Boom! Lu Ming also threw a punch and used the prison-suppressing heavenly art. This punch did not produce the illusion of the prison-suppressing steel. Instead, it contained the power of the prison-suppressing steel in his fist. Boom! Lu Ming's fist collided with his opponent's fist. Kacha! Then, the sound of bones breaking could be heard. The fist of the burly emperor-to-be from the Hung family exploded, and he was forced to retreat by a terrifying force. How can he be this strong? The burly emperor-to-be of the Hung family roared in disbelief. In the punch just now, he felt that Lu Ming's fist was filled with terrifying power. It was simply indestructible. Die! Lu Ming took a step forward and chased after the man. He threw another punch, which caused the space to shake. The expression of the burly emperor-to-be from the Hung family changed, and he retreated frantically. Let me do it. A skinny middle-aged man from the Hung family's emperor-to-be suddenly appeared in front of Lu Ming and threw a punch at him. Boom! There was a terrifying vibration. Lu Ming and the other party's bodies shook at the same time, and they took a few steps back. An emperor-to-be with a superior heavenly spiritual body. Lu Ming squinted his eyes slightly, revealing a strong fighting spirit. Previously, he had encountered people from the Daluo Heaven sect and the Wind race in the Void Turbulence. One of them was an emperor-to-be with a superior grade heaven spiritual body. He was very powerful and Lu Ming was completely suppressed. This thin middle-aged man was also such a figure, and his combat strength was far beyond that of an ordinary emperor-to-be. If you have some strength, come again. The skinny emperor-to-be was called Hung Shi. When he was young, he was also a genius of the Hung family. At this moment, he stepped forward with a combat sword in his hand. The sword chi was like a rainbow as he slashed at Lu Ming. It was a monarch weapon. Lu Ming's glabella glowed, and the Dian elixir furnace flew out. Lu Ming grabbed one of its legs and swung it at the other party. Boom! Boom! With a few consecutive explosions, the two of them collided, but it was difficult to determine the winner. The emperor-to-be from the Hung family and the Phoenix Palace were shocked. Lu Ming's cultivation was only at the upper tier of the Absolute Saint realm, but his combat strength was too shocking. He could actually fight with an emperor-to-be with a superior grade heavenly spiritual body. Hung Shi was also extremely shocked. Kill! He roared and circulated all his strength to the extreme. His combat sword was like a rainbow, slashing at Lu Ming continuously. Thousands of sword lights broke through the air. Buzz! At this moment, a ray of light emanated from Lu Ming's body. Lu Ming's strength increased greatly as soon as the ray of light was cast. The Dian elixir furnace was like a giant hammer, constantly smashing at the other party. Boom! Boom! After 2 consecutive moves, Hung Shi's body trembled, and he retreated a few steps. Light of Chaos! Eternium roared. Once a son of chaos refined the light of chaos, his combat power would increase greatly. In the past, among the children of heaven in the Yuan Mountain, only the Hengxing River could refine the light of law. Now Lu Ming had also refined it. Lu Ming picked up the Dian elixir furnace and launched an extremely violent attack, constantly bombarding his opponent. In the process of bombarding, Lu Ming suddenly pointed out a chaos finger of tribulation. Boom! The Eternium was forced back by the primal chaos tribulation finger, and it spat out a mouthful of blood. Retreat! Hung Shi suddenly roared and retreated. He had already understood that he was not Lu Ming's match. If they continued to fight, they would be in danger. Bubble attack! Attack together! Lu Ming shouted. Toot! Bubbles came out of bubbles, and covered the 5 emperor-to-be from the Hung family. Boom! Lu Ming picked up the Dian elixir furnace and smashed it at one of the emperor-to-be. Lu Ming's ability had a crushing advantage over ordinary emperor-to-be, not to mention that he had Bubbles' help. Without a doubt, the emperor-to-be was killed by Lu Ming in one move. At the same time, Huang Ling Long Chun and the 2 emperor-to-be from the Phoenix Palace attacked the 2 emperor-to-be from the Hung family and injured them. Boom! Lu Ming picked up the Dian elixir furnace and smashed it again, killing an emperor-to-be. Since Lu Ming's arrival, 3 of the 6 emperor-to-be from the Hung family had been killed. There were 3 left. One was an eternal stone, and the other 2 were injured by Huang Ling and the others. Bang! At this moment, the Eternium burst out with all its power and pierced through the transparent bubble. He did not dare to stop at all. He took a step and his body soared into the sky, rushing to the stone bridge above. You want to leave? Lu Ming's eyes turned cold, and he was about to pursue. Roar! Another terrifying roar came from the bottom of the cave. A terrifying devouring force erupted from below, causing Lu Ming's expression to change, and he stopped his pursuit. Hung Sure was overjoyed. The heavens were really helping him. After the roar stopped, the Eternium continued to rush up at an amazing speed. In the blink of an eye, it crossed several stone bridges, and then turned into a ray of light, and flew out of the cave. Lu Ming, let us go! A loud roar was heard. There were 2 emperor-to-be left in the Hung family, and they were trapped by the bubble's space-time law. One of them shouted, "Let you go! How can you be so naive?" Even Lu Ming was slightly stunned. Under such circumstances, the other party actually asked him to let them go. Was there something wrong with his brain? Chapter 1966. Chapter 1966. Chapter 1966 Core Area Lu Ming. Now that Hung Sure has escaped, the fact that you killed our Hung family's emperor-to-be will be exposed. The Hung family will not let you off. If you let us go now, you can reduce your sins. One of the emperor-to-be from the Hung family spoke, his voice filled with arrogance. Reduce my sins? Why are you so funny? Lu Ming was speechless. This person from the Hung family was too self-righteous, right? Furthermore, the Hung family has never considered letting me go. It would be a waste not to kill the Hung family members. Lu Ming said indifferently. Then a combat sword appeared in his hand. He slashed out and killed an emperor-to-be. The remaining emperor-to-be's face turned pale. The Hung family was a great emperor force with a great emperor overseeing it. They were high above the entire Yuan mountain, and were one of the peak forces. Normally, there were not many forces that dared to go against the Hung family, and there were not many forces that didn't care about the Hung family. He had thought that since the Eternium had escaped, Lu Ming would most likely have some reservations. However, he did not expect Lu Ming to be so decisive and merciless. No, please spare me. The emperor-to-be of the Hung family was scared and started to beg for mercy. Hehe, is this the pride of the Hung family? Was this the pride of a great emperor? After your threat failed, you immediately begged for mercy. What a joke! Lu Ming sneered. The emperor-to-be from the Hung clan had an ugly look on his face, but in the face of life and death, everything was meaningless. He continued, Lu Ming, as long as you let me go, I'll do anything you want. No need. 111 be worried if I leave someone like you alive. Kill him. Lu Ming was very decisive. He slashed with his sword and killed the person. So what if one of them ran away? He and the Hung family couldn't alleviate the situation anyway. So what was there to be afraid of? Lu Ming, you've already refined the light of chaos. Huang Ling and Long Chun walked over with surprise and joy on their faces. The more powerful Lu Ming was, the happier they would be. Lu Ming nodded and looked around. They were not the only ones nearby. There were others who were looking at Lu Ming with a grave expression. The combat strength that Lu Ming had displayed just now had shocked them. Lu Ming looked around and realized that they were on a platform. In the middle of the platform was a hall with staircases in all 4 directions leading to the hall. At this moment, many people were climbing up the stairs towards the palace. However, as long as someone stepped onto the stairs, there would be flames on the stairs blocking everyone's way. Even an emperor-to-be would find it difficult to climb the stairs. Lu Ming, this is the core of the ruins. I don't know if there are any treasures in the hall, but we can't fly up. We can only go up along the stairs. However, there's a terrifying formation on the stairs that blocks the way. Huang Ling explained. The core of the ruins. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. At the core of the Divine Time Island, they had obtained many plants that could increase one's lifespan. They had also obtained the Divine Time Tree. It was because of the Divine Time Tree that Bubbles was able to achieve a breakthrough and cultivate the space-time light. Xiaoyu's injuries were only temporarily stabilized because of the Divine Time Tree. One could see how precious the Divine Tree of Time was. What was in the core of this place? Let's go up, Lu Ming said. He took the lead and walked up a flight of stairs. Bubbles followed closely behind Lu Ming. Feng Ling and Long Chun, the two emperor-to-be from Phoenix Palace, also stepped forward. As soon as they stepped on the stairs, a terrifying power of fire rushed toward them. However, the flames at the beginning were not a problem for them. They advanced very easily. After stepping halfway through, the power of the flames became stronger and stronger. Moreover, Lu Ming discovered a problem. The power of the flames on the steps seemed to be different according to the cultivation level. The higher the cultivation of the person, the more powerful the flame. For example, the power of the flames that the emperor-to-be faced was much stronger than theirs. Therefore, halfway through, the emperors-to-be couldn't move an inch. If they continued, they felt that they would be burned to ashes by the fire power. However, Lu Ming, Bubbles, Huang Ling and Long Chun were still able to move forward easily. They didn't stop and kept going up. A moment later, they were on the stairs. So many doors? Huang Ling muttered. This was because the palace here had many doors, a total of 9. Of the 9 doors, 3 were closed and 6 were open. At this moment their gazes moved. They saw a young man flying into a door. The moment he entered, the door closed. It's Wei Tiandao. Everyone's heart skipped a beat. They all knew who that young man was. He was Wei Tiandao, who was ranked 4th on the Saint King rankings back in the Yuan Mountain Saint Academy. However, the Saint King ranking had been rearranged, and Wei Tiandao had been pushed down to 8th place. It seems that someone has also entered the 3 closed doors. Long Chun said. There might be opportunities in these doors. Let's each choose one. Lu Ming said. Okay. Then we'll choose according to our feelings. Huang Ling nodded. The 4 of them flew forward, and each chose a fan. Lu Ming walked towards the door on the far right. He realized that this door seemed to have a special attraction to him. It could make his array Dao laws feel restless. After Bubbles, Feng Ling, and Long Chun each stepped into a door, Lu Ming stepped in as well. After entering the door closed. Lu Ming sized it up carefully. This was a stone room. The stone room was empty and very wide. However, Lu Ming was attracted by the wall of the stone room the moment he entered. The walls of the stone room were carved with dense runes, which were extremely profound. This is runes of formation Dao. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. He cultivated array Dao laws, and could tell at a glance that these were array Dao runes. Furthermore, they were extremely mysterious. These runes seemed to have formed a secret technique. Lu Ming sized it up for a while, and came to a conclusion. He then sat cross-legged, and began to comprehend it in detail. At that moment, in Lu Ming's eyes, the runes on the wall seemed to come to life. They combined and transformed into countless possibilities. It was mysterious and unpredictable. He sat there for 3 days. Within 3 days, Lu Ming had engraved all the runes on the 4 walls in his heart. The 9 scrolls of Array Dao. These are actually 2 of the 9 scrolls of Array Dao. The Annihilation Scroll, and the Illusionary Spirit Scroll. Lu Ming was extremely shocked. Back when he had obtained the status of the Hunyuan sect's gold inheritor, he had shamelessly asked for the Sealed Scroll, one of the 9 scrolls of Array Dao. Back then, the Hunyuan sect elder had told Lu Ming that the 9 scrolls of Array Dao was a supreme secret technique to cultivate the Array Dao laws. However, it had been lost for a long time. He didn't expect that he would come across the other 2 scrolls of the 9 scrolls of arrays here. The power of a sealed scroll was extremely long and mysterious. During a battle, using a sealed scroll could greatly affect the opponent's combat power. The Annihilation Scroll, on the other hand, could use symbols to form the power of annihilation. Its might was astonishing. The illusionary spirit scroll, on the other hand, used runes to create all sorts of powerful living beings. It was also a secret technique that was extremely powerful. Chapter 1967. Chapter 1967. The ninth world. Lu Ming immediately closed his eyes and began to comprehend carefully. Cultivation knew no time. A month had passed while Lu Ming was in the process of comprehending the knowledge. Lu Ming already had the foundation of one of the 9 scrolls of the Array Dao, the sealed scroll. Hence, he was able to comprehend the other 2 scrolls very quickly. Lu Ming realized that when he was comprehending the sealed scroll, destruction scroll, and illusionary spirit scroll of the 9 scrolls of the Array Dao could be combined with each other. His comprehension of the Array Dao laws was very fast. Originally, his Array Dao law's maturity had already reached over 80%. In this short month he had comprehended 3 volumes at once. The speed at which his Array Dao laws improved was simply terrifying. In a short month, it had increased from 80% to 90%. Array Dao laws were King Dao laws. It's really profound. If the 9 scrolls of Array Dao are cultivated to a high level, they can even be fused together, and the power will be even more astonishing. As expected of a supreme secret technique of the Array Dao laws, Lu Ming sighed. It's been a month. It's time to go out. Anyway, I've already remembered it in my heart. One can slowly comprehend it in the future. Lu Ming stood up and walked toward the main door. Miraculously, the door opened automatically when Lu Ming walked to it. When Lu Ming walked out, the door closed again. Closed? Could it be that only one person can enter through each door, and the people behind can't? Lu Ming was a little surprised. Lu Ming! Brother Lu Ming! At this moment, a few cries could be heard as Feng Ling, Long Chun and Bubbles walked over. You guys came out long ago? Lu Ming asked curiously. Then his eyes lit up and he looked at Feng Ling and Long Chun. Your cultivation has increased? He realized that Huang Ling and Long Chun had both reached the pinnacle of the absolute saint realm. However, Bubbles' cultivation seemed to still be at the late-stage absolute saint realm. She hadn't broken through yet, and it was unknown what kind of fortune she had obtained. We obtained an opportunity in that secret chamber and made a breakthrough in our cultivation. However, this secret chamber can only be used once before it is closed, said Huang Ling. Lu Ming swept his gaze over and realized that the 9 doors were all closed. It was obvious that someone had gone in. Lu Ming, what did you get? Huang Ling asked curiously. A secret technique, Lu Ming said. He then looked at Bubbles and said, Bubble, what did you get? A kind of treasure. As for what it is, I won't tell you. Chirp chirp. Bubbles said in a mysterious manner. You little rascal. Lu Ming smiled. Let's leave this place, Lu Ming said. From time to time, roars could be heard coming from the cave. Who knew if that powerful existence would cause any trouble? It was better to leave first. Huang Ling and the others nodded. When the roars stopped, they took the opportunity to fly up and cross the stone bridge above. Then, they found the right time and kept going up. Not long after, they rushed out of the cave. In this area, there were other people who saw Lu Ming and the rest coming out of the stone room. Their eyes were filled with greed, but no one dared to take any action. Lu Ming and the rest were definitely powerful. By the way, were you in this world when you first came in? Lu Ming asked after they left the cave. Yes, we have been exploring the Myriad beast realm, but unfortunately, we have not gained much. Long Chun nodded. Do you know where the entrance to the next world is? Lu Ming asked. Yes, we've asked around. We were planning to explore other worlds after we finished exploring, said Huang Ling. All right, let's go to the next world, Lu Ming said. Everyone immediately flew in one direction. The Myriad beast realm and the Myriad sea realm were completely different. The Myriad sea realm was full of vast oceans, while the Myriad beast realm was full of wild mountains. Lu Ming, Bubbles, Feng Ling, Long Chun, and the 2 emperor-to-be from the Phoenix Palace flew all the way. After a few days, they arrived at the border of the Myriad beast realm. Here there was also avoid turbulence. Huang Ling and Long Chun took out their monarch weapons to resist the turbulence and the crowd stepped into the void. Along the way, they met other people who were rushing to the Myriad beast realm. After a period of time, they passed through the turbulent flow of the void and arrived at another world. There were also human martialists in this world. They had asked around and found that there was indeed a huge historical site in this world that had been passed down since ancient times. They headed in the direction of the ruins. However, they met a few familiar faces along the way. Ouyang Wushuang, Desolate Power, and some emperor-to-be powerhouses from the Abyss Empire. Ouyang Wushuang and the rest were pleasantly surprised to meet Lu Ming and the others. Lu Ming, you're going to the legacy site, right? Ouyang Wushuang asked. Not bad. Lu Ming nodded. There's no need to go to that ruin. It has already been explored. We just came out of that ruin. Ouyang Wushuang asked. We are from the Myriad beast realm. Lu Ming said. From the Myriad beast realm? It seems that the 8 worlds have almost been explored. Ouyang Wushuang's expression changed. Then he began to talk about their experiences and the news they had heard. It turned out that Ouyang Wushuang and the others had already explored a few worlds. Moreover, they had also heard that the remains of the other worlds had almost been completely explored. Now everyone is heading toward the 9th world. Ouyang Wushuang said. The 9th world. Lu Ming's heart stirred. The world of the lotus flower had 9 petals, representing 9 worlds. When they first entered, Lu Ming observed that everyone would be attracted to different petals. However, there was only one petal and no one else. Lu Ming felt that there must be something unusual. One heard that someone saw a legend in one of the worlds. The 9th world contains a big secret, and there is only one way to the 9th world, which is the Heaven Abyss of the Heaven Abyss realm. I heard that many powerful forces are heading to the Heaven Abyss realm, such as the Hung Star River and the Hung family, the He family, the Daluo Heaven sect, and so on. Ouyang Wushuang said. Since that's the case, we'll go too. Lu Ming said. The 9th world should have an extraordinary secret that should not be missed. Moreover, there were some scores that needed to be settled. Lu Ming's eyes flashed with a cold glint. Ouyang Wushuang nodded. Immediately, everyone changed direction and headed toward the deep heaven world. He couldn't reach the heavenly abyss world directly from this world. He had to go through the other 2 worlds. They crossed several worlds and flew for a long time. After more than 10 days, they finally arrived at the deep heaven world. The heavenly abyss of the heavenly abyss realm was the most famous miracle in the heavenly abyss realm. It was easy to find out about it by asking around. The heavenly abyss was in the north of the heavenly abyss realm. Everyone headed toward the heavenly abyss. The heavenly abyss was a deep abyss that stretched across the edge of the heavenly abyss world. No one knew how long, deep, or wide it was. From a distance, it looked as if the sky abyss had been cut out by a sword. Chapter 1968. Chapter 1968. Meeting the Eternal Star River again, it was said that on the other side of the heavenly abyss was another world. It was the legendary 9th world, the world where the Undying lived. At this moment, many figures were gathered at the edge of the heavenly abyss. These people were all experts from various forces in the outside world. Most of them were emperor-to-be. There were also some heaven's favorites with monarch weapons, who could also pass through the spatial turbulence. On the edge of the heavenly abyss, there was a huge platform that seemed to be built with some kind of huge stone. In the middle of the platform, there was a huge altar. Around the altar, there were dense inscriptions. In front of the altar, there was a young figure sitting cross-legged with his eyes closed. However, everyone seemed to be afraid of this figure, and no one dared to approach the platform, because this person was the stellar river. The eternal sun, Hung Xinghe, was too terrifying. Previously, there was an emperor-to-be who had disrespected him, and was killed by him in seconds. Even if the other party had many emperor-to-be experts, they were still far from being a match for the Star River. An emperor-to-be could only be killed in seconds in the face of the galaxy. He couldn't even withstand one move. What was shocking was that his cultivation in the Xingxing River realm had yet to reach the emperor-to-be realm. Moreover, there were also emperor-to-be experts from the Hung family. Therefore, The stellar river occupied the ancient platform that looked very important, and the others could only watch from the outside. Of course, there were also people with killing intent in their eyes, and that was the He family. They wished they could kill the galaxy, but they were no match for the galaxy here. They could only hide far away, not daring to get close. Young Master Xinghe, you've been studying it for days. Do you know how to cross this abyss and head to the ninth world? Finally someone asked. Xinghe didn't make a sound, as if he was ignoring that person. It was only after a long while that Xinghe opened his mouth and said, I already know the method. Many people's eyes lit up. What method is it? Someone asked. It's not the time to say it yet. In the galaxy, if it's not time to say it, then when will it be time to say it? The man asked. Are you questioning me? Xingchen suddenly opened his eyes. His eyes were like two divine swords, piercing toward the man. The man was shocked as he felt a cold, killing intent covering him. He couldn't help but retreat. His face turned pale and he quickly said, One don't dare, one don't dare. I'll naturally say it when I should. After saying that, the eternal star river closed its eyes again. The person from before heaved a long sigh of relief, but his back was already drenched in cold sweat. The eternal sun is too terrifying. He's not even an emperor-to-be, but he's already so terrifying. If he becomes an emperor-to-be, he'll be able to compete with martial sovereigns. Many people had the same thought and were shocked. The people of the He family looked gloomy. A chosen like the eternal sun was a disaster for the He clan. In the future, if the Hung family's two great emperors joined forces, and the Hung family broke through to the great emperor realm, the He family would definitely be destroyed. Therefore, the people of the He family were thinking about how to get rid of the Star River. Time passed by quickly. In the blink of an eye, a few days had passed. On this day, the Star River that had been sitting there suddenly opened its eyes and looked into the distance. Its eyes were sharp as it muttered, It's finally here. Everyone was shocked. They're finally here. Who's here? Everyone's gaze followed the direction of the stellar river, and saw a group of people walking in the air. They were led by a few young men. It's Lu Ming, the son of chaos. Lu Ming! Someone exclaimed in a low voice as he recognized Lu Ming. This made many people's hearts tremble. Could it be that the eternal Star River had been waiting here all this while for Lu Ming? Buzz! The Star River rose and took a step forward, heading toward Lu Ming. At the same time, the Hung family's experts also followed beside the Hung family. Not far away, Lu Ming, Feng Ling, Long Chen, and the rest stopped. Lu Ming, you're finally here. I've been waiting for you for a long time, said Xingchen indifferently. Is that so? Lu Ming's expression was calm. He knew that he would face the stellar river when he came here. Lu Ming, you killed the emperor-to-be of the Hung family. Today, I'll use your blood to pay tribute to them. Behind the Star River, a figure shouted. It was an eternal stone. They wanted to kill me, so why can't one fight back? Lu Ming asked. Of course you can. In the world of martial Dao, everything is decided by strength. Those who are strong live, and those who are weak die. They're not as strong as you, so they deserve to die. Xingchen said indifferently, as if he didn't care about the death of a few emperor-to-be from the Hung family. However, they're from the Hung family, and so am one. You killed them, so I'm going to kill you. Lu Ming, hand over the celestial emperor's sword, and it'll give you a quick death. The galaxy continued. Hung Xinghe, I knew you were here for the sword of celestial emperor. Back then, you couldn't do anything to me in the Yuan Mountain Saint Academy. Today, you can't do anything to me either. Lu Ming said, his eyes slowly filled with fighting spirit. This place isn't the Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy. Hung Shan said coldly. His meaning was clear. Back then at the Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy, Lu Ming had fought alongside many experts in the Hung Xing River. However, today there were experts from the Hung family here. They would not let Lu Ming and the others have this chance. Boom! Boom! The Hung family had been around for countless years, and was an emperor-level power, with too many experts. There were more than 100 emperor-to-be here today. When they gathered together, their momentum was terrifying. A terrifying aura pressed down on Lu Ming and the rest, causing their expressions to change. We're here to help you. Not far away, a voice could be heard. A group of people came behind Lu Ming and the others. They were the emperor-to-be of Phoenix Palace, Divine Elephant Sect, Thunder God Sect, and other forces. We are your opponents. A cold voice rang out. A giant wolf stepped in the air. A golden crow let out a long cry, and the chi of a combat weapon soared into the sky. The emperor-to-be from the Golden Crow clan, the Sirius Tower, the Wan family, the Purple Extreme Sect, and other forces stepped on the air and pressed toward Lu Ming and the others. Lu Ming, let me help you. A beautiful woman came to Lu Ming's side with a group of experts. It was Luo Tianyi, and the emperor-to-be of the Jade Pool Immortal Palace. Following that, many scattered experts joined Lu Ming and the rest. For example, the emperor-to-be of the Xinyuan Empire and other sections. Even so, Lu Ming and the rest were far from capable. Most of the forces on Lu Ming's side were from the ancient Moon Holy Land. At most, they could only compete with the Golden Crow clan and the Sirius Tower, which were also forces from the ancient Moon Holy Land. Even with the addition of the Xinyuan Empire, it would be useless. Hehe, it's really lively. Lu Ming, one have to say that you're really lucky. With a sneer, Luo Tsangxiong led the powerhouses of the Daoyuo Heaven sect to the side of the Hung family's powerhouse. Then, the masters of the Wind race also came to the side of the Daoyuo Heaven sect. On Lu Ming's side, many people's expressions changed. The other party was too powerful. The difference in strength between the two sides was too great. Chapter 1969. Chapter 1969. Blood sacrifice to the bridge. The Hung family and the Daoyuo Heaven sect were both emperor-level forces. They had many more experts than Lu Ming and the others. Moreover, the Wind clan, the Golden Crow clan, the Wan family, and other forces had gathered. Many emperor-to-be surrounded by the river of laws made them look like gods in the sky. Their terrifying aura pressed toward Lu Ming and the rest like a mountain. Behind Lu Ming, everyone stood in a defensive circle, their expressions grave. Around them, many people were watching with different expressions. Some people sneered. Take the He family for example. They did not have a good impression of either Lu Ming or the Hung family. It was best to kill each other. As for the people from the Soul Divine Temple, they stood in the distance and did not interfere. Although Qiu Yu and Lu Ming were very close, Qiu Yu only represented her lineage in the Soul Divine Temple. Moreover, he had not seen Qiu Yu yet. Lu Ming is going to die today. I've expected this. How dare he go against emperor-level forces like the Hung family and the Daoyuo Heaven sect? Hehe. Yu Shu sneered in the crowd, gloating over his misfortune. The young geniuses from the Purple Flame Villa had complicated expressions on their faces. There were a few young men in the Purple Flame Villa who had lost a bet to Lu Ming and had to listen to his orders. But now, in the face of so many masters from the Hung family and the Daoyuo Heaven sect, they could only choose to ignore them and pretend that they did not see anything. It was because it would be a dead end if they went there. Moreover, the emperor-to-be in the Purple Flame Villa would not listen to their orders. Damn it, they are relying on their numbers. It's a pity that our desolate race has not appeared. If not, we would have gathered a bunch of emperor-to-be. We would have hammered them to death. Desolate Li growled. He was very unhappy. It's just a battle, said Long Chun. He looked ordinary, but he was filled with fighting spirit. Why should a man be afraid of a battle? Don't you all want to know how to pass through this abyss and head to the ninth world? At this moment, the emotionless voice of the galaxy rang. Many people were shocked. Was the galaxy finally going to say something? If you want to cross the other side of the abyss, you have to open the abyssal bridge. The way to open the abyssal bridge is very simple, which is to sacrifice the bridge with blood. With the blood of many experts, you can open the abyssal bridge and lead to the ninth world. The voice of the galaxy spread far and wide. Many people's hearts trembled again. They actually had to sacrifice the blood of experts to the bridge in order to reach the ninth world. How much blood do you need? Someone asked in a serious tone. I don't know. Naturally, the more the better. The Eternal Star River Channel then looked at Lu Ming and the rest. A cold killing intent burst out. Today, 111 use your blood as a sacrifice to the bridge. Boom, boom, boom. As soon as he finished speaking, the powerhouses of the Hung family, the Daluo Heaven sect, and other forces stepped out. The river of laws surrounded them, and their saint power burst out like a tide. Today they wanted Lu Ming and the rest to stay here. You guys focus on defense. Leave the stellar river to me. Lu Ming's voice spread to the ears of Huang Ling and the rest. Then, Lu Ming's glabella glowed, and the Dian elixir furnace flew out, turning into the size of a mountain. However, the Dian elixir furnace did not float above Lu Ming's head. Instead, it flew towards Huang Ling and the rest before it landed on the ground with a loud thud. The Da Yin elixir furnace had 4 legs and was lifted high up. Huang Ling and the rest were all below the furnace. The Da Yin cauldron was the most important treasure of the Da Yin elixir palace. Its grade was far above ordinary monarch weapons. With that, Feng Ling Long Chun and the rest only had to defend the surroundings. They didn't have to worry about the top. This way, their defensive power would increase greatly. Bubble, go help Huang Ling and the rest. Lu Ming sent a voice transmission to Bubbles. Brother Lu Ming, be careful, Chirpy. Bubbles cried out and charged towards Feng Ling, Long Chun, and the others. You guys deal with the others. Leave Lu Ming to me. The galaxy said coldly. The powerful engine locked onto Lu Ming. Kill. Hiding under a pill furnace means death as well. The emperor-to-be experts of the Hung family, Daluo Heaven sect, and Golden Crow clan stepped into the air and attacked Feng Ling, Long Chun, and Bubbles from all directions. On Huang Ling's side, there were only dozens of emperors-to-be, much less than the other side. They could only gather together to defend. All sorts of defensive saint weapons and sovereign weapons were everywhere. At the same time, Bubbles attacked. The space around them distorted, forming mirror-like spatial shields that blocked in all directions. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Hundreds of attacks fell on Huang Ling and the others, some of which were blocked by the Dian elixir furnace. At this moment, Lu Ming had already cut off his connection with the Dian elixir furnace. Otherwise, the terrifying force would have followed the Dian elixir furnace and injured Lu Ming. At this moment, the Da Yin elixir furnace was only relying on its own solid and immortal characteristics to resist the attacks around it. As expected, the attacks were all blocked by the Great Yin elixir furnace. The rest of the attacks were blocked by Feng Ling and Long Chun. After all, although the other party had a lot of people, they didn't have many angles to attack under the cover of the Da Yin elixir furnace. Continue, kill. An expert from the Hung family roared and attacked Huang Ling and the others. Oh, ah. At this moment, a shrill scream erupted from the crowd in the distance. Someone had suddenly attacked and killed an expert. What are you guys doing? You're looking for death. Someone shouted. Sacrifice your blood to the bridge. Someone coldly spoke. Then I'll use your blood as a sacrifice to the bridge. And MBSB, let's go. The person from before shouted, and a huge battle immediately broke out in that area. There were many forces here who had grudges with each other. The chaos in that area seemed to affect the whole world. Those forces who had grudges with each other also began to fight. Since he wanted to sacrifice the bridge with the blood of experts, he might as well use the blood of his enemies. Therefore, a war broke out inevitably, and the scope of the war was getting wider and wider. Soon, the 4 sides were in chaos and wars were everywhere. Lu Ming and the galaxy stood in the air, facing each other. Lu Ming, no one will help you today. You'll only die. Hand over the celestial thearch's sword, and 111 leave your corpse intact, said Xingchen coldly. Long time no see. Your cultivation is still in the great circle of the absolute saint realm. Do you think you can kill me? Lu Ming sneered. There are also strong and weak absolute saints in the great circle of the absolute saint realm. Xinghe said calmly. His cultivation base was indeed the same as when he fought with Lu Ming and the others. He was still in the perfected absolute saint realm. The main thing was that to break through to the emperor-to-be realm, from the perfection of an absolute saint, one had to cultivate a law to perfection. However, the further one advanced, the harder it would be to cultivate. This was especially true when he trained in the eternal laws. However, even at the perfected absolute saint realm, there were weak and strong nomological laws. The maturity of the nomological laws in the eternal Star River had reached 99%. He was much stronger than when he was fighting with Lu Ming and the rest. Boom! A shocking aura burst out from the body of the galaxy. At the same time, a ring of light surrounded the galaxy, making him look like a god. This was the eternal light. Whoosh! A terrifying sword light bloomed from Xing Chen's hand. Chapter 1970. Chapter 1970. Chapter 1970 improved combat power. The galaxy raised its aura to the maximum, and the eternal light bloomed. It was about to attack Lu Ming. At this moment, a blade light crossed the void and slashed down at the Star River. This blade light was filled with the aura of death. When the saber light slashed down, everything was destroyed. Xing Chen's eyes narrowed. He waved his hand and slashed out a shocking sword radiance, which clashed with the saber radiance. Buzz! A terrifying, ear-piercing sound rang out. Endless blade light and sword chi swept in all directions. Xing Chen's figure shook slightly, and he took a step back. A figure appeared in the sky. He carried a saber on his back, and his hair was dancing wildly. It was the Death Blade. At that moment, his aura was extremely shocking. He had also reached the perfected absolute saint realm. Furthermore, there was also a halo around him. It was the light of death. Clearly, the Death Blade had also obtained a great opportunity during this period of time, and made great progress. Not only did it have a breakthrough in its cultivation, but it had also refined the light of death. Star River, your opponent is me. The Death Blade stepped through the air, and stood in front of the Star River. Death Blade, you again? Killing intent bloomed in Xing He's eyes, and he said, Death Blade, although you've reached the peak of the absolute saint realm, and cultivated the light of death, you're still no match for me. Not your match. You'll know once you try, Death Heavenly Blade. The Death Blade was very direct. As soon as he finished speaking, he attacked. The battle blade on his back was unsheathed, and the terrifying Death Blade light slashed toward the Star River. Xing Chen's eyes turned serious. A combat sword appeared in his hand. Although he sounded very confident, he didn't dare to be careless in the face of the Death Blade. The Death Blade was the child of death, and now, he had cultivated the light of death, and entered the perfected absolute saint realm. They were at the same level, so he couldn't be careless. A dazzling sword radiance burst forth, as if it was going to pierce through heaven and earth. Boom! Two figures, two sword lights and two blade lights collided, and a dazzling light burst out between heaven and earth. The eternal Star River and the Death Blade were engaged in a fierce battle. The momentum was terrifying, and no one dared to stand within a radius of hundreds of miles for fear of being dragged in. In the blink of an eye, the two exchanged dozens of moves and were evenly matched. Lu Ming was speechless. He had wanted to have a big fight with the galaxy. However, it was good that the Death Blade had made a move. He had to block the galaxy first as he still had things to do. Lu Ming's figure moved, and he dashed in one direction at top speed. That direction was where the Daluo Heaven sect was located. At this time, many emperor-to-be of the Daluo Heaven sect were attacking Huang Ling, Long Chun, and the others. The number of emperor-to-be from the Daluo Heaven sect was also shocking. Although it was less than the Hung family, there were still nearly 100 people. At this moment, Luo Tsangqiang was standing in the void with a huge seal in his hand. It was the divine seal of deprivation. The divine seal of deprivation could continuously deprive the energy in space. The longer it was deprived, the more energy it would accumulate, and the more terrifying its power would be. At this moment, Luo Tsangqiang was constantly snatching the energy until he reached the limit of his control before he made his move. Die! Luo Tsangqiang roared. He pushed out the divine seal of deprivation with his palm. It was like a mountain crashing forward. However, Lu Ming suddenly appeared in front of the divine seal of deprivation, and pointed his finger. And NBSB the primal chaos tribulation finger exploded, striking the divine seal of deprivation. Boom! A deafening boom was heard. The divine seal of deprivation was destroyed, and Lu Ming's figure drifted backward for a distance. The power of Luo Kangqiang's divine seal of deprivation, after he had accumulated power, was indeed terrifying. Even with Lu Ming's current combat strength, he was still forced back. However, he was only forced back. Lu Ming, you're actually able to block my divine seal of deprivation. Luo Tsangqiong cried out in disbelief. After a long time of accumulation, he had deprived a large amount of energy of that move. Its power had reached a shocking level. An ordinary emperor-to-be would not be able to withstand it and would be killed easily. But now, Lu Ming had actually blocked it head-on. How could he not be shocked? Luo Tsangqiong, I'm going to take your life today, Lu Ming said coldly. Qiuyu was still unconscious from her serious injuries. He would not let Luo Tsangqiong go. Even if the other party was the great emperor's grandson, it was the same. Lu Ming stepped into the void and charged towards Luo Tsangqiong. Luo Tsangqiong was shocked and could not help but retreat. Lu Ming, you managed to escape last time. I'll kill you again. A burly figure appeared in front of Lu Ming with a giant hammer in his hand. This person was the expert who had fought with Lu Ming in the void turbulence. He had a superior grade celestial spiritual body and was very powerful. Previously, Lu Ming was completely suppressed by the other party. But this time it would not. Kill, die. Lu Ming shouted. His eyes shot out a cold light. At the same time, a ring of light enveloped his body, and he pointed his finger. And NBSB, the massive finger of primal chaos tribulation, struck the enemy's hammer, causing it to buzz and be sent flying. Your battle strength, the other party was shocked. After exchanging one move, he could feel that Lu Ming's combat strength was much stronger than the last time. Previously, Lu Ming was at a complete disadvantage when he faced him. However, in the exchange just now, he was actually at a disadvantage. How did Lu Ming's ability improve so much in such a short period of time? Light of Chaos. You've refined the light of chaos. The burly man roared. I'll kill you today, Lu Ming said coldly. He continued to use the chaotic finger of tribulation and pointed. And NBSB, the massive primal chaos tribulation finger, suffused with primal chaos light, suddenly appeared like a god's finger and began to crush down. The burly man let out a low growl and used all his strength to wave his giant hammer to block Lu Ming's attack. However, at this moment, countless runes appeared in Lu Ming's left hand. A true dragon pounced toward the burly man. This was the illusionary spirit scroll, one of the 9 scrolls of the Tao of Formations. Symbols transformed into true dragons, and its power was terrifying. And NBSB, the burly man's giant hammer, collided with the primal chaos tribulation finger. He had used all his strength to block Lu Ming's chaos finger of tribulation. How could he have the energy to block the attack of the Array Dao Law's illusionary spirit scroll? The true dragon pounced on the burly man's body. With a long roar, it clawed down. Bang! The burly man's body trembled violently. With a muffled groan, he retreated rapidly and spat out a large mouthful of blood. Kill! Lu Ming followed up quickly. He waved his palm, and a huge shadow of the prison-suppressing steel fell from the sky, pressing down on the burly man. The burly man let out a blood-curdling screech as his body began to crack. It was unknown how many bones in his body had been broken. Then, runes glowed on Lu Ming's left hand, and another true dragon flew out. It grabbed the burly man and tore him apart. Selah. Blood splattered everywhere as the burly man's body was torn apart. The burly man, an emperor-to-be with a superior-grade celestial spiritual body, was killed by Lu Ming's series of attacks. The 9 scrolls of Array Dao are indeed profound. If I can fuse the Annihilation Scroll, Illusionary Spirit Scroll, and Sealed Scroll together, the power will increase even more. Lu Ming had an idea. Chapter 1971. Chapter 1971. Chapter 1971. Killing King Physique. The Array Dao laws could only be used as Lu Ming's support for now. Compared to the Chaos Finger Tribulation, it was still a little weaker. However, if he were to combine the Annihilation Manual, the Illusionary Spirit Manual, and the Sealed Manual together, the power would definitely increase exponentially. One could only imagine how powerful the attack would be if it transformed into a true dragon that contained both the power of destruction and the power of sealing. Lu Ming was looking forward to it. At this moment, Luo Kangqiang's eyes were wide open in disbelief. Lu Ming could actually kill the burly man, who was a top-notch emperor-to-be. Unless one had a king physique, he was invincible among his peers. The fact that Lu Ming could kill such an existence sent chills down his spine. Lu Ming's cold eyes swept towards Luo Zhangqiang. He did not stop and continued to charge at Luo Zhangqiang. Men, kill Lu Ming. Kill him. Luo Zhangqiang roared as he frantically retreated. Luo Pokong also retreated with him. Buzz! Buzz! And MBSB Wuxia. In an instant, at least 10 emperor-to-be rushed toward Lu Ming with all kinds of terrifying attacks. However, Lu Ming simply ignored these attacks. His chaotic light surrounded his body, and as he charged forward, all the attacks that landed on his chaotic light were blocked. The light of chaos could be used to attack and defend, and its power was astonishing. Boom! 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 After Lu Ming rushed through the attacks, he threw a few punches in a row. His fist radiance tore through the air, and the 3 emperor-to-be exploded in the air. Whoosh! 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 Immediately after, Lu Ming pointed out the fingers of tribulation of chaos in succession. 6 fingers of tribulation of chaos shot toward the 6 emperor-to-be. Although the power of the 6 fingers had been dispersed, it was enough to deal with an ordinary emperor-to-be. The 6 emperor-to-be were blown away by the 6-finger forces. Their faces were pale, and they spat out blood. In the beginning, he killed 3 emperor-to-be, and then he injured 6. This kind of combat strength was shocking. Luo Zhangqiang and Luo Pokong were even more shocked. The 2 of them retreated frantically. They did not have the courage to fight Lu Ming. However, Luo Zhangqiang retreated even faster because his cultivation was stronger. You guys can't escape. Let's go, Lu Ming said coldly. He dashed out like a bolt of lightning and avoided several powerhouses of the Daluo Heaven sect. The next moment, Lu Ming caught up to Luo Pokong. Luo Pokong was shocked. The long spear in his hand pierced through the void and went straight for Lu Ming. This was a monarch weapon. Combined with Luo Pokong's law of penetration, its power was indeed terrifying. However, Luo PC's cultivation base was only at the upper tier of the Absolute Saint realm, the same as Lu Ming's. In a battle of the same level, no matter how strong he was not strong enough to face Lu Ming. Lu Ming threw a punch, and it hit the tip of the long spear. Luo Pokong's penetration law was useless against Lu Ming. The long spear buzzed and even bent. Then, it bounced out fiercely, and the tail of the spear hit Luo Pokong's body. Luo Pokong let out a blood-curdling scream, and his body retreated frantically. In his heart, there was a strong sense of disbelief. He felt like he was dreaming. When he first met Lu Ming had to do his best to defeat him. But now, Lu Ming could defeat him and injure him with a casual move. As time passed, the gap between the 2 of them grew bigger and bigger. Luo Pokong, who claimed to be a peerless genius, found it hard to accept. Lu Ming's figure did not stop as he charged towards Luo Pokong. His cold killing intent sent chills down Luo Pokong's spine. Lu Ming, how dare you touch me? In the Daluo Heaven sect's pride. If you touch me, no one in Yuan Mountain can save you, Luo Pokong roared. The Daluo Heaven sect had a great emperor in charge. He did not believe that Lu Ming would dare to touch him. If he touched him, Lu Ming would also die. In my life, many people have threatened me, but in the end they all died, and am still alive, Lu Ming said coldly. His saint power burst out, and the law of chaos buzzed. He threw a punch, and a phantom of the prison-suppressing steel pressed toward Luo Pokong. Boom! Luo Pokong was directly sent flying to the ground, smashing heavily on the ground, creating a huge pit that was 10 miles deep. Luo Pokong lay in the pit, twitching and spitting out blood. That attack had broken all his bones and armor, and even his saint heart had cracked. At this moment he was extremely terrified. Endless fear enveloped him. If Lu Ming really wanted to kill him, he was not just saying it. He was not afraid of the Daluo Heaven sect at all. At this moment he was scared to death. Buzz! Lu Ming's body appeared in the huge pit, and he looked down at Luo Pokong coldly. Don't! Luo Pokong shouted as he vomited blood. Stop! Lu Ming! If you dare to kill him, the Daluo Heaven sect will not let you off. An emperor-to-be of the Daoyuo Heaven sect shouted. Luo Pokong was the king body of the Daoyuo Heaven sect, so he couldn't die. Hee. Lu Ming sneered. The Daoyuo Heaven sect would not let him go? Even if the Daoyuo Heaven sect would let him go, he would not let them go. This was the oath he made to Qinyu. In the future, he would definitely trample on the Daoyuo Heaven sect, no matter what price he had to pay. Lu Ming stretched out his hand and grabbed Luo Pokong's monarch weapon spear. No! Luo Pokong shouted in fear and tried to escape. However, the spear radiance pierced through the air. The monarch weapon spear pierced through Luo Pokong's forehead and nailed him to the ground. Luo Pokong's eyes were wide open, full of unwillingness. Many people in the surroundings were also shocked. The Daoyuo Heaven sect's king physique, Luo Pokong, was killed by Lu Ming just like that. The people of the Daoyuo Heaven sect would go crazy if this news spread. However, the murderous intent in Lu Ming's eyes was still as cold as a knife. This is only the beginning. Lu Ming muttered and pulled out his monarch weapon spear. He soared into the sky and looked into the distance. At this moment, Luo Zongqiong was fleeing frantically. He did not dare to stay there at all. Bubble, give me a hand. Lu Ming sent a voice transmission to Bubbles. All right. Under the Dian Elixir furnace, the bubble responded. It waved its hands and the power of space-time laws enveloped Lu Ming's body through the void. Lu Ming's body moved as if he was traveling through the void, and he chased after Luo Zongqiong at an extreme speed. With the help of Bubble's space-time law, Lu Ming's speed was even more astonishing. He was approaching Luo Zongqiong at a rapid speed. Damn it! The emperor-to-be of the Daoyuo Heaven sect stopped their attacks on Feng Ling and Long Chen and chased after Lu Ming. Luo Pokong was still fine, but if Luo Zongqiong was killed by Lu Ming, the great emperor's fury would descend upon them, and they would all die. They chased after Lu Ming crazily, but their speed was too far behind Lu Ming's, and they could not catch up at all. Lu Ming's figure was like a flickering light and a passing shadow as he approached Luo Zongqiong very quickly. Whoosh! Lu Ming pointed with his finger. The force of the chaotic finger of calamity condensed into a line and pierced through Luo Zongqiong. Break! A battle axe appeared in Luo Kangqiang's hand. This battle axe was extremely powerful. It was definitely a monarch weapon, and not an ordinary one at that. The battle axe slashed out and blocked Lu Ming's finger force. However, his body was also sent flying, and his face was flushed. Although his cultivation base had broken through to the perfected absolute saint realm, his combat strength was much weaker than Lu Ming's. Chapter 1972. Chapter 1972. Human-shaped hammer Luo Zongqiong retreated, and Lu Ming followed. He waved his right fist, and the shadow of the prison-suppressing steel appeared, pressing down on Luo Zongqiong. Strip, strip! Luo Zongqiong roared. The law of deprivation enveloped the battle axe, constantly depriving the external energy to increase the power of the battle axe. Then he slashed it at Lu Ming. Clang! The battle axe hit the shadow of the prison-suppressing steel, causing a violent vibration. Although Luo Zongqiong had blocked the shadow of the prison-suppressing steel, his body was constantly retreating. His face was flushed and blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. However, Lu Ming did not stop his attack. There were 9 shadows of the prison-suppressing steels in the sky, and they kept pressing down on Luo Zongqiong. Luo Zongqiong could only try his best to resist. At the same time he roared, "A bunch of trash! Hurry up and save me! Do you all want to die?" Of course, he was shouting at the emperor-to-be of the Daoyuo Heaven sect. The emperors-to-be looked terrible and flew toward him with all their might. Luo Kangqiang's status in the Daoyuo Heaven sect was too special and noble. He was the grandson of a great emperor and had unparalleled talent. Even those void emperors and true emperors had to give him face. What's more, these emperors-to-be could decide their life and death with a word. "No one will be able to save you today," Lu Ming said coldly. Countless runes appeared in his left hand and transformed into a true dragon that pounced at Luo Zongqiong. With the 2 types of nomological laws operating at the same time, Luo Zongqiong was even more outmatched. He was instantly sent flying and spat out a large mouthful of blood. Buzz! Lu Ming moved, and appeared above Luo Kangqiang's head. He pointed out the chaotic finger of tribulation and attacked Luo Zongqiong. Boom! Luo Kangqiang's body was blasted down like a cannonball, just like Luo Pokong. Then, Lu Ming swooped down and caught up with Luo Zongqiong. He held the monarch weapon spear that he had just gotten from Luo Pokong in his hand. He poured his saint power into the spear, making it hum, and stabbed at Luo Kangqiang's forehead. Not good. Stop! The emperor-to-be of the Daluo Heaven sect shouted in shock. Lu Ming was simply too audacious. He did not care about Luo Kangqiang's status at all. First, he killed Luo Pokong, and now he even wanted to kill Luo Zongqiong. Luo Zongqiong was extremely frightened and let out a crazy roar. He was unwilling, he was mad with hatred. However, he would not beg for mercy. If he did not die, he would definitely kill Lu Ming in the future. Whoosh! The emperor-ranked long spear pierced towards Luo Kangqiang's glabella with a terrifyingly sharp chi. However, just as the spear was about to hit him, a black metal token suddenly appeared between Luo Kangqiang's eyebrows. Clang! The spear struck the metal token, causing sparks to fly. However, this metal was extremely hard, and the long spear could not penetrate it. The long spear trembled, and a terrifying force pushed Luo Zongqiong to the ground at an even more astonishing speed. However, as Luo Zongqiong was falling, the number of metal plates increased rapidly. In the blink of an eye, it covered his entire body. It was like a black armor that covered Luo Kangqiang's entire body. Boom! Luo Kangqiang's body smashed into the ground, causing the earth to shake and a huge pit to appear. However, the next moment, Luo Zongqiong stood up as if nothing had happened. Grandpa, ha ha ha! Luo Zongqiong laughed with joy. He knew that this was the protective emperor weapon that his grandfather had secretly placed in his body. It could save his life at a critical moment. However, he didn't tell him in advance, most likely because he wanted to train him. With the protection of the sovereign weapon, he knew that he would be fine. Lu Ming could not kill him. The emperor's blessing. The emperor-to-be of the Daluo Heaven sect were also ecstatic. Will you be fine if you hide in the armor? Kill. Lu Ming's eyes were cold. He held the long spear and swooped down like a stream of light, stabbing Luo Kangqiang's head in an instant. However, the long spear still failed to pierce through Luo Kangqiang's armor. This armor was truly sturdy and immortal. Lu Ming, you can't kill me. If I don't die today, you'll be the one to die in the future. Luo Zongqiong roared. His killing intent was extremely cold. Today, Lu Ming had almost killed him. This made his killing intent toward Lu Ming even stronger. Clang! Lu Ming could not be bothered to talk nonsense with him. He swept his long spear, and Luo Kangqiang's body flew out directly. He crashed into the wall of the big pit, and his body sank into the ground. However, the next moment, Luo Zongqiong shot up from the ground not far away. Buzz! Lu Ming moved and charged at Luo Zongqiong. Strip away the divine seal. Luo Zongqiong cast the divine seal of deprivation in an attempt to counterattack, but it was shattered by Lu Ming's finger. At the same time, Lu Ming cast the sealing scroll of the 9 scrolls of Array Dao. The dense runes enveloped Luo Zongqiong and tried to seal him. Then, Lu Ming grabbed Luo Kangqiang's neck and pushed him toward the ground. Boom! Luo Zongqiong crashed heavily on the ground, creating another huge pit. Bang! Then, Lu Ming stepped on Zongqiong Luo's head, causing his head to sink into the rock. Ah, Lu Ming, I'll kill you! Luo Zongqiong roared. It's really a turtle shell. It's comparable to that fellow Dandan's turtle shell. Lu Ming muttered. At this time in the distance, a little turtle sneezed and cursed. Which bastard is scolding me? He's scolding me. Charge. After that, the little turtle dashed toward a large tomb shrouded in clouds and mist, disappearing from sight. As for Lu Ming, he continued to torture Zongqiong Luo. He stepped on Zongqiong Luo's crotch, causing him to scream in pain and bow his body. Although the armor is hard, there is still pain. Continue. Lu Ming stepped on Luo Kangqiang's crotch again. Luo Zongqiong roared like a beast. Inside the armor, his face was red with tears and snot. Release young Master Luo. You're looking for death. At this moment, the emperor-to-be of the Daluo Heaven sect rushed over with all kinds of weapons and attacked Lu Ming. Some of them took out their monarch weapons and attacked Lu Ming. Lu Ming grabbed one of Luo Kangqiang's legs and used it as a hammer, swinging it at the emperor-to-be. An emperor-to-be was waving a monarch weapon at Lu Ming, but when he saw that it was Luo Zongxiong who was smashing at him, he quickly reduced his strength. Therefore, the consequences he faced were miserable. Luo Kangqiang's body hit him hard. The emperor-to-be screamed and flew hundreds of miles away. He lay on the ground, twitching. Bang! Bang! Then, Lu Ming rushed into the sky, grabbed Luo Zongxiong, and swung him like a hammer at the emperor-to-be of the Daluo Heaven sect. Luo Kangqiang's armor was really sturdy and immortal. It was even harder than many sovereign weapon-level giant hammers. Lu Ming smashed it with all his might, and the power was amazing. A few emperors-to-be with weaker cultivation were hit. Their bodies broke, and they were crushed to death. The emperor-to-be of the Daluo Heaven sect had some concerns. Even though some of them had sovereign weapons, they didn't dare to attack with full force for fear of injuring Luo Zongxiong. In that case, their consequences would be even worse. Chapter 1973. Chapter 1973. The sullen Luo Zongxiong. Bang! Bang! Lu Ming grabbed one of Luo Kangqiang's legs and used him as a weapon. He kept throwing him out. Several emperor-to-be of the Daluo Heaven sect were smashed away. One of them was even smashed to death. The others vomited blood and flew back. Ha ha ha, awesome. This weapon is really suitable for me. Lu Ming laughed heartily, feeling extremely carefree. On the other hand, Luo Zongxiong was furious. He kept roaring and wanted to rush out and fight with Lu Ming, but he finally held back. He was too aggrieved. At first, Lu Ming stepped on his face until his face was stuck in the rock. Then, Lu Ming stepped on his crotch, causing him so much pain that he wished he was dead. At this moment, Lu Ming was using him as a weapon to kill the people of the Daluo Heaven sect. He was mad with hatred and kept roaring to vent his anger. He knew that he had lost too much face. No matter how great his achievements were in the future, even if he were to break through to the great sovereign realm like his grandfather, this matter would still become a shame for the rest of his life. He would be laughed at behind his back. Lu Ming, it'll make you wish you were dead. I swear. Your family, your friends, they're all going to die. Luo Kangqiang's voice sounded like a madman. What are you shouting for? It was you who killed the people of your Daluo Heaven sect. I'm just doing it for you. Lu Ming berated. Luo Zongxiong spurted out a mouthful of blood. What did he mean by he was the one who killed the Daluo Heaven sect? What did he mean by Lu Ming was just doing it for him? Don't use me as a weapon if you have the ability. Bang! Lu Ming waved Luo Zongxiong and sent another emperor-to-be flying. He spat out a mouthful of blood. As for Luo Zongxiong himself, he was also dizzy from the impact. Don't fight him head-on. An emperor-to-be of the Daluo Heaven sect shouted and retreated, not daring to approach Lu Ming. The other emperors-to-be did the same. When they saw Lu Ming, they ran away in a hurry. As a result, a funny scene formed at the scene. Lu Ming was chasing Luo Zongxiong in the sky, while the emperor-to-be of the Daluo Heaven sect was running around in panic. Many people were speechless. The young master of the Daluo Heaven sect, the grandson of the great emperor, the sovereign who had deprived his king body, and nearly 100 emperor-to-be of the Daluo Heaven sect had been defeated by Lu Ming. After Luo Zongxiong had been abused, he had become Lu Ming's weapon. It was really speechless. At the same time, everyone was shocked. This also proved Lu Ming's power. Hey, don't run. There are so many emperors-to-be here, but you don't dare to fight me. The Daluo Heaven sect is a great emperor-level force. How disappointing. Lu Ming held Luo Zongxiong upside down and ran wildly in the air, chasing after the emperor-to-be of the Daluo Heaven sect. The faces of the emperor-to-be of the Daluo Heaven sect turned green with anger. If you have the ability, then put Luo Zongxiong down. You're carrying Luo Zongxiong, and you're still fighting like this? The emperors-to-be roared in their hearts. Lu Ming, if you have the ability, come and fight me. At this moment, the sound of the stellar river reverberated throughout the entire area. He was also very unhappy. In the Yuan Mountain Sacred Academy, Luo Zongxiong had sided with him, and was a member of the Heaven Emperor Alliance. Now that he was so badly beaten by Lu Ming, he had lost all face. At this moment, the Star River and the Death Blade had already exchanged hundreds of moves. The Death Blade was gradually losing the upper hand. After all, the Eternal Star River had long broken through to the perfected Absolute Saint realm, and was very close to the Emperor-to-be realm. In terms of mastery of its nomological laws, it was stronger than the Death Blade slash. After a long battle, it gradually gained the advantage. Hung Xinghe, your cultivation base is 2 levels higher than mine, and you're an eternal sun, yet you're challenging someone with a lower cultivation base than you. But isn't the Hung family all like this? Lu Ming sneered. If you don't dare to fight, then just say it. The Star River and the Death Blade exchanged another blow, forcing the Death Blade to retreat dozens of miles. Hung Xinghe, you don't have to try to goad me, but today, I'm really going to fight you. With that, Lu Ming stopped chasing the people of the Daoyuo Heaven sect. He carried Luo Zhangxiong and walked toward the Star River. Many people were shocked, including Huang Ling, Long Chun, and the others who were Lu Ming's enemies. Was Lu Ming really going to fight against the galaxy? Although Lu Ming's combat strength was strong, he was definitely not a match for the galaxy. Perhaps he was going to join forces with the Death Blade. Many people thought so. Let me go. Luo Zhangxiong roared. Shut up. Lu Ming stepped forward and stepped on Luo Kangqiang's crotch. Luo Zhangxiong shrieked like a eunuch and arched his body. Runes kept flowing out of Lu Ming's palm and covered Luo Kangqiang's armor, sealing him. He could not resist and could only be carried by Lu Ming like a weapon. Everyone was stunned. Was Lu Ming going to use Luo Zhangxiong as a weapon to fight against the galaxy? Death Blade, leave the galaxy to me. Lu Ming stepped forward and came to the Death Blade. Leave it to you. The Death Blade's eyes were filled with doubt. What's wrong? You don't believe me? Don't worry. I'll help you beat this galaxy up. You can go help Huang Ling and the others. Lu Ming said. This Lu Ming is so arrogant. He actually wants to fight alone in the galaxy. Also, didn't you hear his tone? He actually ordered the Death Blade to help Huang Ling and the others. What a joke. With the Death Blade's personality, it's good that he didn't draw his sword against him. Some people were discussing in low voices. Although many people were still in the midst of a chaotic battle, there was a group of people who had yet to make a move. They stood in the distance and watched the battle. After hearing Lu Ming's words, they all shook their heads. However, what happened next was beyond their expectations. The Death Blade nodded and turned into a terrifying blade light, killing the Emperor-to-be of the Hung family. The Blade of Death was extremely terrifying. With one slash, 3 Emperor-to-be from the Hung family were killed. Damn it, let's kill him together. The Emperor-to-be of the Hung family was furious. He joined forces and launched a terrible attack on the Death Blade. However, the Death Blade was surrounded by the light of death, and the area within 100 meters of him was like a land of death, like a god of death. The light of death merged with the saber light and broke the opponent's attack, killing an Emperor-to-be. An ordinary Emperor-to-be would be killed by the Death Blade in one move. Death Canopy. Then, a terrifying gray gas emanated from the Death Blade's body. This was the Qi of Death, and it covered at least half of the Da Yin elixir furnace. The Emperors-to-be retreated when they saw the Qi of Death. In this way, the pressure on Huang Ling, Long Chun, and Ouyang Wushuang was greatly reduced. They could already block the other party's attack. Xing's expression turned ugly. His body was shrouded in eternal light, like a god, eternal and immortal. Bang! Then, the galaxy took a step forward, and a terrifying aura pressed down on Lu Ming like a storm. He did not want to waste any more time. He wanted to end the battle quickly and kill Lu Ming as soon as possible to get back the Celestial Emperor's sword. Let's fight, Lu Ming muttered. His spine was suffused with a blood-red light. A drop of blood appeared, and a powerful and terrifying force gushed into Lu Ming's body. The third bloodline. Chapter 1974. Chapter 1974. Lu Ming vs. Galaxy. Lu Ming immediately activated his third blood meridian. This was because Lu Ming was very clear that if he did not activate his third blood meridian, he would not be a match for the galaxy. Hung Xinghe was the eternal sun, and was on par with him in every aspect. He had mastered the eternal law, and cultivated the eternal light. His cultivation level was about to reach the Emperor-to-be realm, 2 levels higher than Lu Ming's. Even his superpower was stronger than Lu Ming's, having reached 99%. In terms of spirit body, even if Lu Ming had fused 3 chaos laws, he might not be completely stronger than the galaxy. He was born with an eternal body, and was protected by the heavens. Once he entered the martial royal realm, his spiritual body would directly evolve into a superior grade heavenly spiritual body. In fact, the children of God were all like this. Lu Xiangxiang's body of life, Ouyang Ma's body of reincarnation, and the body of death of the death blade were all inborn. Once they broke through to the emperor level, they would have a high-grade heavenly spirit body. Furthermore, because they were born with this constitution, their spirit bodies contained a special substance. For example, the body of life was born with the chi of life, and the body of chaos was born with the chi of chaos. So their spiritual bodies were stronger than the superior grade celestial spiritual bodies. Strictly speaking, Lu Ming could not be considered the son of God. This was because everything he had was acquired through cultivation, not inborn. His spiritual body and chaotic laws were all acquired through cultivation. He was not born with the chaotic body. However, the others did not know this. When they saw that Lu Ming controlled the laws of chaos, they called him the son of chaos. Now Lu Ming's spirit body had cultivated 3 strands of chaos chi. Compared to the galaxy, he might have a slight advantage. Lu Ming's other advantage was that he had 2 saint hearts and 2 types of laws. However, this was not enough. It was not enough to make up for the gap between him and the galaxy. Therefore, he needed a 3rd bloodline to make up for it. The 3rd bloodline seemed to have endless energy. Even at Lu Ming's current realm, he could still feel that the energy was endless. What he could borrow was just a drop in the ocean. Lu Ming's body exuded an endless murderous intent. His eyes started to turn blood red, and his long black hair also turned blood red. His aura was constantly rising, and he could faintly compete with the galaxy. Xing's eyes narrowed and he said coldly, "Borrowing external power is ultimately not enough to withstand a single blow. Kill." He charged at Lu Ming, as if he had teleported. At the same time, a combat sword appeared in his hand. It was undoubtedly a sovereign weapon. The sword light pierced through the air and slashed at Lu Ming. Boom! Lu Ming was even more straightforward. He lifted Luo Zhangqiong and threw him at the galaxy. Luo Zhangqiong hid in his armor and roared. He was extremely aggrieved. He had completely become Lu Ming's weapon. Xing Chen's expression changed as well. He flicked his wrist and the sword gleam changed. It cut toward Lu Ming from another direction. However, Lu Ming flung Luo Zhangqiong away and crashed into the sword gleam of the galaxy. The sword gleam of the galaxy changed again. But Lu Ming could always keep up with the sword gleam by waving Luo Zhangqiong. "Lu Ming, let Luo Zhangqiong fight me if you can." Xing's face, which had been calm all this time, was now filled with anger. There was a ball of fire in his chest. Lu Ming brandished Luo Zhangqiong, wanting to fight him head-on. Luo Qingqiang's status was extraordinary. He was the grandson of the great emperor. In terms of status, he was even higher than Lu Ming. Although the Hung family also had a great emperor, that great emperor was Lu Ming's ancestor. He was afraid that if he injured or killed Luo Zhangqiong, he would offend the great emperor of the Daoyuo Heaven sect. "Of course you have a monarch weapon, I don't have a proper one. This is mine." Lu Ming shook Luo Qingqiang's arm. Luo Zhangqiong was dizzy from the swing. He almost spat out a mouthful of blood when he heard Lu Ming's words. When did he become Lu Ming's sovereign weapon? "Then one won't use my monarch weapon, I'll fight you." "In the galaxy, you have a monarch weapon but you don't use it? Are you stupid? I'm going to use it anyway." Lu Ming looked at Luo Zhangqiong with disdain. He swung Luo Zhangqiong and smashed him toward the Star River with astonishing power. The armor on Luo Qingqiang's body was extraordinary. It was sturdy and immortal. Lu Ming pondered. Even a Void Emperor would not be able to break it so easily. It was perfect as a weapon. The two of them exchanged a few blows. For a moment, Xing Chen was at a disadvantage and could not display his full strength. Around them, many people were looking at each other. That Lu Ming is really shameless. Some people were indignant. Hehe. Xing's cultivation level is 2 levels higher. How can Lu Ming not use some tricks? Why don't you say that Xinghe is shameless? Some people felt that Lu Ming's behavior was very normal. Look, the platform is reacting. At this moment, someone exclaimed and pointed at the stone platform. By now, many people had already died in battle. The blood of those who had died in battle was actually attracted by a mysterious force and flew towards the stone platform, seeping into the ancient altar. The ancient altar was shining. Then, a blood-red bridge extended from the stone platform to the other side of the abyss. However, the blood-red bridge only extended a section before it stopped. Blood sacrifice. It's really blood sacrifice, but there's not enough blood. Someone shouted, "Kill!" At the scene, the battle cries shook the sky. Some of the more powerful forces began to kill the weaker forces. More and more people joined the chaotic battle. It was a chaotic scene. People were killed continuously and would fall here forever. Xing Chen's eyes glowed as he shouted, "Lu Ming, sacrifice your blood to the bridge." With that, the sword radiance of the Xingxing River surged. It no longer seemed to care about Luo Zhangqiong. The combat sword cut through the air and slashed toward Lu Ming with an extremely sharp aura. Lu Ming picked up Luo Zhangqiong and smashed him. Clang! The battle sword of Xingxing River hit Luo Kangqiang's body accurately, making a loud noise and sending sparks in all directions. Luo Kangqiang's body shook violently. He was dumbfounded by the powerful force. Lu Ming's body swayed, and he could not help but take 2 steps back. Whoosh! Whoosh! The sword light of the Xingxing River was like a flying immortal from beyond the heavens, slashing at Lu Ming continuously. Lu Ming circulated all the energy in his body and stepped forward. Luo Zhangqiong was like a black iron hammer, constantly smashing. Clang! Clang! The two of them exchanged more than 10 blows in a row. The void rumbled and shook continuously. The terrifying force turned into shock waves that spread out in circles. Some of the people who were closer to them were hit by the shock wave and were forced to retreat, their faces pale. Many people were shocked. This kind of combat strength was terrifying. It was just a shock wave, but ordinary emperor-to-be couldn't bear it. How amazing was this? What shocked more people was that Lu Ming could really fight against the galaxy. This made it difficult for many people to calm down. The He family, the Daluo Heaven sect, the only divine temple, and other powerful forces. There were also ancient Moon Holy Lands Wn family, Golden Crow Race, Sky Wolf Tower, and others. Their hearts were in turmoil. Lu Ming was now able to compete with the galaxy. This rate of improvement was too shocking and shocking. Chapter 1975. Chapter 1975. Chapter 1975 Peak Battle Hung Xing River was known as the #1 genius among the younger generation in the land of Yuan Mountain. Didn't that mean that the current Lu Ming was already standing at the peak of the younger generation in the Yuan Mountain, and it would be difficult for him to find a worthy opponent? The powerhouses of the Golden Crow clan, the Wan family, and other forces all looked very gloomy. When he got out, he had to report this matter and think of a countermeasure. If this continued, Lu Ming's continued growth would be a disaster for them. Lu Ming and Hung Xinghe exchanged more than 10 moves, and it was difficult to determine the winner. The Star River seemed to have some apprehensions and was afraid of breaking Luo Kangqiang's armor. Clang! After another explosion, the seal runes that had been covering Luo Kangqiang's armor collapsed. Boom! Luo Zhangqiong burst out madly. The law of deprivation circulated at full force and enveloped Lu Ming, trying to devour him. Lu Ming's expression changed slightly. He finally knew why the galaxy had attacked him previously. Its purpose was to destroy the sealing power on Luo Kangqiang's body and allow him to regain his freedom. Eternal Sword Tide. How could the galaxy miss this opportunity? In an instant he stabbed more than 1,000 times. Endless sword light, like a tide of swords, stabbed toward Lu Ming. All of them were aimed at his vital points. At this moment, Lu Ming wanted to seal Luo Zhangqiong again and use him as a weapon. However, it was impossible. He might even put himself in danger. Buzz! Lu Ming let go of Luo Zhangqiong and retreated rapidly. He kept punching out with both his fists, and illusionary prison-suppressing steels appeared one after another, blocking the sword radiance that was coming for him. As soon as Luo Zhangqiong escaped, his body flickered madly, and he put a long distance between him and Lu Ming. Lu Ming, you'll remember this. Just you wait. Luo Kangqiang's angry voice rang out. I'll remember this as well. One believe everyone will remember this. Lu Ming smiled faintly. You. Luo Zhangqiong was so angry that he almost vomited blood. His body trembled with anger. That's right, today's events had been remembered by everyone. Soon, the news would spread throughout the entire Yuan Mountain. In the future, when others see him, they would think of this scene. Luo Zhangqiong was a joke. He was furious. He could not wait to cut Lu Ming into 8 pieces. He could not wait to kill all the people who witnessed today's events. You piece of trash, get lost. Lu Ming could not be bothered with Luo Zhangqiong. He waved his hands in disdain and turned his gaze to the galaxy. Luo Zhangqiong was so angry that he almost wanted to fight Lu Ming to the death. Lu Ming, you don't have Luo Zhangqiong with you now. Let's see how you can stop me. The eternal light on the stellar river became more and more brilliant, as if it did not belong to this world. With one less trash, it's perfect for a battle. Let's go, Lu Ming said calmly. He circulated his holy power to the extreme and was surrounded by the light of chaos. He looked like a god of war. Buzz! Buzz! The two of them moved at the same time, charging towards each other. The eternal sword, Chaos Finger. A beam of sword light and a huge finger collided in the air and then disappeared. Lu Ming and the galaxy's figures also collided. Lu Ming slashed down again. An illusionary image of the prison-suppressing steel appeared. It was as big as a mountain and carried an aura that could suppress the heavens. It suppressed the star river. The sword radiance of the galaxy slashed and split the prison-suppressing steel's shadow. However, he was faced with even more prison-suppressing steel's illusory images. With a wave of Lu Ming's hand, 9 illusionary prison-suppressing steels appeared and were blasted at the galaxy. At the same time, countless inscriptions appeared on his left hand and spread toward the galaxy. This was the power of a seal, trying to seal the galaxy. However, when the sealing power approached the galaxy, it couldn't break through the eternal light of the galaxy and was blocked. Then, the eternal light shook and countless runes shattered. My body is eternal, what can mere King Path laws do to me? Xing Chen's voice was heard. At the same time, a terrifying sword light burst out and shattered 9 prison-suppressing steels. Whoosh! There was another sword radiance that pierced through the prison-suppressing steel's shadow and headed for Lu Ming. However, when the sword light hit the light of chaos, it was as if it had hit an iron wall. It made an ear-piercing squeaking sound and sparks flew. Kill! Lu Ming let out a long howl. His blood-red hair fluttered in the wind. He had borrowed the power of the third bloodline and crossed the gap between him and the eternal star river. The two of them were engaged in a great battle. Lu Ming used the prison-suppressing heavenly art and the chaos finger of tribulation at other times. In combination with the array Dao law, he exploded with shocking combat strength. He could kill an ordinary emperor to be in one move. However, the eternal star river was indeed powerful. The sword beam pierced through the sky, and the body became eternal. It was not weaker than Lu Ming. The two of them exchanged hundreds of moves in the blink of an eye, and neither of them had a clear winner. Boom! The two of them exchanged another blow. The eternal light and the chaotic light trembled, and the two of them flew back at the same time. Lu Ming, this secret technique of yours is indeed very powerful. However, the aftereffects should be very serious. I wonder how long you can last. Xing Chen's eyes flashed with a sharp light. He believed that the power of Lu Ming's third bloodline should be a strange and terrifying secret skill that could increase one's combat strength for a short period of time. However, such a secret skill usually had huge side effects. Try it and you'll know. Lu Ming smiled faintly. Naturally, he would not explain. The third bloodline had endless energy. Even if he continued to use it, it would not be exhausted. Lu Ming, you're no match for me even if you use your secret skill. I'll show you my strongest combat power. Xingqian said coldly. The eternal light on his body grew brighter and brighter, as if it was about to burn. The eternal god bell. At this moment, the aura of the Star River rose sharply again. His body glowed brightly and finally turned into a big bell, enveloping him. Clang! The bell hummed, and a visible sound wave rushed toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming's expression changed abruptly. He had a very dangerous feeling in the face of this sound wave. Primal Chaos Tribulation Finger. Without hesitation, Lu Ming cast the Chaos Finger of Tribulation and pointed with all his might. However, as the sound wave rushed past, the Chaos Finger of Tribulation actually exploded inch by inch. The terrifying sound wave rushed past and continued to rush toward Lu Ming. What a terrifying power! Lu Ming's expression was grave as he retreated quickly. At the same time, he punched out with both fists. Pieces of illusionary prison-suppressing steels appeared in front of him to block. Bang! Bang! The phantom image of the prison-suppressing steel exploded continuously. Lu Ming's body trembled as he felt a terrifying force acting on his body, as if it was going to tear his body apart. Even the light of chaos on his body could not withstand it. Lu Ming had to retreat 100 miles before he could successfully resist this force. My God, is this the true combat power of the galaxy? That's too terrifying. Who can be his match under the rank of a Marshal Supreme? Lu Ming is going to be defeated. He's not his match. Lu Ming's cultivation level is too low after all. It's hard to bridge the gap between our cultivation levels. In the surroundings, although there were people fighting, there were still people who paid attention to the battle between the Hengxing River and Lu Ming. Chapter 1976. Chapter 1976. Defeating the Galaxy. Chapter 1976. Chapter 1976. Defeating the Galaxy. Everyone was shocked by the battle prowess of the Galaxy. It turned out that he had not used his full strength just now. Now that he had burst out with his full strength, he sent Lu Ming flying back 100 miles in one move. It was shocking. At this moment, Feng Ling, Longchen, and the others all looked worried. The situation on their side was much better. With the Death Blade joining, the pressure on them was greatly reduced. An ordinary emperor-to-be would be killed by the Death Blade. Many of them had died at the hands of the Death Blade. Their blood was absorbed by the platform, and the blood-red bridge grew longer and longer. It extended to the front, and didn't know if it reached the other side. The Star River strode in the air, and headed toward Lu Ming. On his body, a huge bell enveloped him. It was as if it was transparent, and one could clearly see the shape of the galaxy. Lu Ming, you're no match for me. In front of Yongheng, everything is meaningless. Kill. Xingqian spoke indifferently, as if he had transformed into a god that was high above, looking down on the common people. Clang. The eternal god bell shook for the second time. Terrifying sound waves whizzed out. The space rippled like water, and it was as if there were thousands of soldiers and horses charging toward Lu Ming. Retreat! Some of the people behind Lu Ming had a drastic change of expression. They retreated one after another, afraid that they would be swept in. With their combat strength, if they were swept in, they would definitely end up in pieces. Lu Ming's expression was grave. He raised his cultivation to the maximum and tried his best to resist. The Tai Chi formation plate flew out and pressed forward. At the same time, the primal chaos tribulation finger and the prison-suppressing heaven art were unleashed. However, it was all useless. The Tai Chi formation disc was knocked away and lost its light. The primal chaos tribulation finger, even the prison suppression heavenly art, was unable to block it and was shattered. It was not the chaos apocalyptic finger or the prison suppressing heavenly art that was inferior to the other party. It was just that Lu Ming's cultivation level was insufficient, and his mastery was inferior to the other parties. It was difficult for him to unleash such a powerful force. Buzz! Lu Ming's figure retreated again. This time, blood seeped out of the corner of his mouth. Lu Ming, you're pretty good to be able to block 2 of my attacks. However, your fate is already decided today. Kill all living things or silent. Clang! The eternal god bell shook for the 3rd time. This time it was even more terrifying. The terrifying sound waves actually turned into an army. They were like the divine soldiers in the legends. They held divine weapons and rode strange beasts. Their murderous intent soared to the sky as they came crushing towards Lu Ming. The entire void was shaking. The attack this time was undoubtedly more terrifying. Lu Ming was knocked back and spat out a mouthful of blood. His face was pale. You are the first person in the same generation to block 3 of my eternal god Bel's attacks. Hand over the celestial emperor's sword, and I'll let you die in one piece. Xing Chun was incomparably arrogant. His snow-white robe fluttered in the wind. He approached Lu Ming at top speed, as if he was sure to win. Hee, the power is indeed not bad. But it's still not enough. Lu Ming chuckled. At this moment his eyes were very cold. It seemed that he had to give it his all. Now he could only increase the power of his third bloodline. The third bloodline was too strange. Lu Ming had always avoided borrowing the power of the third bloodline. However, he had no choice but to do so now. Come power! Lu Ming's eyes flashed with a hint of ferocity. Boom! A surge of blood-colored energy roared wildly and rushed into Lu Ming's body. Roar! Lu Ming roared like a wild beast. A terrifying killing intent burst out and enveloped the surroundings. The galaxy was hit by this killing intent, and its expression changed. This killing intent made him feel as if he was facing an extremely powerful and crazy existence that wanted to slaughter all living beings and destroy everything. Chi. At that moment, Lu Ming's body swelled up. Bone spikes protruded from his body, making him look ferocious, like a demon who had walked out of purgatory. Even Huang Ling, Long Chen, Ouyang Wushuang, and the others were shocked. They had never seen Lu Ming in such a state. Star River, watch me break your stupid bell. Lu Ming howled, his eyes filled with malevolence and boundless killing intent. However, Lu Ming's current cultivation level was not the same as before. Although he had endless killing intent, he had not lost his mind. Buzz! Lu Ming's figure moved like a shadow. The next moment he appeared in front of the galaxy. Almost no one had seen how Lu Ming moved. He was too fast. Buzz! Lu Ming's claw reached out. At that moment, Lu Ming's nails had grown much longer. They were like sharp blades as they clawed at the galaxy. Xing's expression changed, and he quickly launched an attack. Clang! The eternal god bell trembled, and a sound wave that was even more terrifying than the previous one was released. The sound wave collided with Lu Ming's claw, producing a harsh and unpleasant sound. In the end, Lu Ming roared and tore with all his might. The sound wave was directly broken by Lu Ming. The next moment, Lu Ming approached the stellar river and threw a punch. Thump! The punch landed on the eternal god bell, and a terrifying power instantly exploded. The eternal god bell trembled madly, and Xing Chen's expression changed. His body was like a cannonball as he was sent flying. Buzz! Lu Ming stomped on the void, causing it to tremble. He burst forward and caught up with the Star River, his fists punching out like a storm. Shake! The eternal Star River roared, and the eternal god bell shook again. A terrifying sound wave rushed out. This time, the sound wave was even more terrifying. Any ordinary emperor-to-be who came would die. Boom! 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 Lu Ming's fist was covered in a layer of blood-colored energy. It was indestructible and could break anything. It kept bombarding the sound waves, and eventually destroyed them. Then he punched the eternal god bell. Kacha! The eternal god bell was a remarkable power condensed from the eternal laws of the stellar river. Now a crack had appeared. Moreover, Lu Ming's fist force continued to bombard the eternal god bell. More and more cracks appeared on the eternal god bell. Finally, with a bang, it exploded. Xing's face was pale. He spat out a large mouthful of blood and retreated rapidly. However, Lu Ming's speed was astonishing. He caught up in an instant, and his violent attacks continued to pour out. Xing Chen took out his imperial sword again, and used all his strength to slash out sword light. However, they could not stop Lu Ming at all. At this moment, Lu Ming had borrowed the vast power of the third bloodline, and had almost reached his limit. He could barely retain a trace of intelligence. If he continued to borrow the power of the third bloodline, he would be drowned by endless killing intent, and turned into a killing puppet. It could be seen how violent Lu Ming's current strength was. In just a few moves, Xingxing River was sent flying and spat out a large mouthful of blood. In the distance, Luo Zhangxiong was almost scared to death. What kind of monster was Lu Ming? He could even defeat the Eternal Star River. He was simply undefeatable. No, after we get out, one must ask Grandpa to send some experts to kill him. He must be killed. Luo Zhangxiong roared in his heart. He had a feeling that if Lu Ming did not die, he would be the one to die in the future. Chapter 1977. Celestial Emperor's Corporeal Body. Chapter 1977. Celestial Emperor's Corporeal Body. Luo Zhangxiong was shocked, not to mention the others, who were even more shocked. The Star River had actually lost. He wasn't defeated by an elder, nor was he defeated by a group of people. Instead, he was defeated by another young man in a direct confrontation. The number one genius of Mount Yuan in the Hengxing River, the undefeated legend, was shattered today. Of course, another legend was born. If news of today's matter spread out, the entire Yuan mountain would be shaken. Especially the Heng family. It was as if their faith had collapsed and they were terrified. The Hengxing River was the representative and pride of the Heng family. Ever since they started cultivating in the Hengxing River, they had never lost to anyone of the same generation. But today he was defeated. On the other hand, Huangling Longchen and the emperor-to-be on their side were ecstatic. Lu Ming had defeated the Stellar River. The situation could be completely reversed. He merely borrowed some secret skill. Who knows if Lu Ming will become a good-for-nothing, or his strength will be greatly reduced once this secret skill is used. What's the use of a temporary victory? Luo Zhangxiong said unhappily, and his voice resounded throughout the whole place. Of course, he was getting further and further away from Lu Ming, and was prepared to escape at any time. Luo Kangqiang's words made many people's eyes flash. Indeed, Lu Ming's state clearly showed that he had used some kind of terrifying secret skill. Such a secret technique had actually increased Lu Ming's abilities so much. The aftereffects were definitely shocking. He would become a good-for-nothing immediately. It might be a little exaggerated, but if his source was damaged and it affected his future cultivation, Lu Ming would no longer be a match for the galaxy. Some of the people who had a grudge against Lu Ming prayed in their hearts and hoped that this was the case. At this moment, Lu Ming could not be bothered with the voices of the outside world. He continued to rush towards the galaxy. At this moment, Lu Ming's killing intent was like a tidal wave. Who cared if he was the eternal sun? He would kill him first. Xing Chen's expression was ugly, but he did not dare to clash head-on with Lu Ming. He turned into a rainbow light and rushed toward the blood-red bridge. Buzz! Lu Ming followed closely behind and rushed toward the blood-red bridge. Could it be that the giant bridge has already reached the other side of the abyss? The Stellar River definitely knows something. Now that he's charging towards the giant bridge, he must have reached the other side and entered the ninth world. Let's charge too. Charge! The others also rushed toward the bridge, including the emperor-to-be of the Heng family, the Daluo Heaven sect, and the Golden Crow tribe. The originally intense chaotic battle had also stopped at this moment. The black mass of people all rushed onto the giant bridge and ran forward. We're going too. Ouyang Wushuang, Huangling, Longchen, and the others led a group of experts and rushed toward the giant bridge. After they crossed the giant bridge, the Dian elixir furnace shrank rapidly and flew toward Lu Ming. It flew into the space between Lu Ming's eyebrows and disappeared. This giant bridge was extremely long and wide, and it led straight into the depths. The galaxy was running at the forefront at an astonishing speed. However, Lu Ming was still closing the distance between him and the galaxy. Not long after, they saw the giant bridge pass through a thick fog. Many people were shocked. Could it be that the ninth world was behind the fog? The ninth world couldn't be entered directly from the outside. It was said to be the world where undyings lived. What exactly was there? The galaxy was the first to rush into the fog. Lu Ming followed closely behind. After Lu Ming rushed into the fog, he realized that he had arrived in a void. Yes, the void. There was no land here. It was like the starry sky in the universe. He was floating in the void. The Star River was not far away, but he seemed to be stunned as he looked ahead. Lu Ming could not help but look over. At first glance, his heart trembled violently and he was stunned. A figure was sitting cross-legged in the void in front of him. But that figure was too big and too majestic. This person's body was even taller than any mountain. Just by sitting there, he was like a planet in the vast universe. In front of it, humans were as small as dust. But the most important thing was that this was a golem. It was like a huge stone statue, but it was very lifelike. This was a young man who looked to be in his 30s. His eyes were closed as he sat cross-legged in the void, but he gave off a feeling of unparalleled magnificence, unparalleled in the world and the world. What shocked Lu Ming the most was that he had seen the golem's appearance before. Initially, the two great sovereigns had a great battle at the Heavenly Emperor Mountain. In the end, the blood of the great sovereigns fell, and the Heavenly Emperor Mountain had a strange change. At that time, a figure had condensed at the Heavenly Emperor Mountain, around 30 years old, with unparalleled magnificence. He seemed to be the figure of the Heavenly Emperor. This stone man in front of him looked exactly the same as the figure that had appeared at the Heavenly Emperor Mountain. Could this be the statue of the Celestial Emperor? Many thoughts flashed through Lu Ming's mind. Buzz, buzz, and NBSB whoosh. At this moment, there were people passing through the fog and appearing in the void. But when they saw the giant golems, they were all stunned and shocked. Celestial Emperor. This is the Celestial Emperor. A Celestial Emperor statue. No, it's the corporeal body, the Celestial Emperor's corporeal body. In the end, an emperor-to-be from the Hung family couldn't hold back his shock and shouted. Everyone's heart was in shock. Celestial Emperor's corporeal body? This was the Celestial Emperor's corporeal body. Legend had it that the Celestial Emperor had fallen in the distant past. Could this really be the body left behind by the Celestial Emperor after his fall? It was very possible. There were many ancient ruins in the Lotus world, and some places seemed to have suppressed terrifying creatures. If it wasn't for the Celestial Arch, who could have done it? In the distant past, for some unknown reason, the Celestial Arch suppressed some of the more powerful living beings here. However, he himself died and his physical body was left here, sitting in the ninth world. No wonder he couldn't directly enter the ninth world. No wonder the other worlds would have the legend that the ninth world was home to undying beings. Undying was the Celestial Emperor. As for Lu Ming, he thought of more things. He thought of the Celestial Emperor's sword, which was also a stone sword. The sword was made of stone, and this huge body was also made of stone. What was the connection between these two? Could it really be the Celestial Emperor's corporeal body? Could it be that the Celestial Arch wasn't a human, but a strange life form? At this moment, countless people's eyes were burning with fire. That was the fire of greed. If this giant golem was really the Celestial Emperor's corporeal body, then its value would be unimaginable. That was the Celestial Arch. Now, the Heavenly Emperor was a legend, and the Great Emperor was the peak expert. A great emperor could almost dominate an area, be invincible, and control the great Tao. As for the Celestial Arch, he was even more unimaginable. Legend had it that the Celestial Arch was almost the same as the Heavenly Tao. Moreover, he did not suffer any major tribulations, and was truly immortal. When one became a Celestial Emperor, there would be no more tribulations of heaven and earth, and they would truly live as long as heaven and earth. Such a person was unimaginably strong. One could only imagine the value of the body left behind by such a person. No matter if it was true or false, they couldn't miss it, and would make people go crazy. Whoosh, whoosh. In the next moment, many figures rushed towards the giant golem, their eyes shining with greed. Chapter 1978. The Celestial Arch isn't dead? Chapter 1978. The Celestial Arch isn't dead? The Celestial Emperor's corporeal body was too shocking and too tempting. Regardless of whether it was real or fake, he had to give it a try. Even if he only managed to knock a piece off his body, it would still be priceless. Even martial emperor powerhouses would be envious if he brought it out. One figure after another charged forward. Celestial Emperor's corporeal body is mine. Whoever touches it will die. Xingqian shouted, and his entire body turned into a sword light and slashed out. The sword light slashed down and blood splattered everywhere. Heads flew off one after another. In an instant, more than 10 Emperor-to-be were killed by the Star River. The difference between an ordinary Emperor-to-be and the Star River was too great. They could be killed instantly without any resistance. The river of laws was easily cut open and pierced. The other Emperors-to-be were shocked and flew away. The galaxy was too overbearing. Star River, our battle is not over yet. Let's continue. Lu Ming's blood-red hair fluttered in the wind. His killing intent surged like a tide. His eyes were blood-red as he stepped toward the Star River. Within a certain range around him, no one dared to step in except those who were close to Lu Ming. When the Star River saw Lu Ming coming over, its expression turned ugly. It turned into a ray of light and rushed toward the huge stone man. Form the formation. Stop him with the monarch weapons. The voice of the galaxy rang out. The Emperor-to-be from the Hung clan started to move. Their figures flickered and formed a magical formation. Those who had monarch weapons also took out their weapons. Even an Emperor-to-be couldn't fully exert the power of a sovereign weapon, but when many of them gathered together to form a formation, the power was still terrifying. Whoosh! Whoosh! Beams of sword chi shot towards Lu Ming. Lu Ming threw a few punches and the void trembled, destroying the sword chi. But then, even more sword chi came at him. In the Hung family, most of the people cultivated the eternal spring laws and paid attention to continuous cultivation. Boundless sword chi blasted toward Lu Ming, blocking his path. No matter how strong Lu Ming's combat strength was, he could not charge out in a short period of time. And the stellar river was rapidly approaching the golems. His speed was very fast, and the others were a bit behind him. Buzz! A ray of death light slashed over and blocked a large amount of sword chi. Lu Ming, go after the stellar river. I'll take care of this for you. The death blade came through the air, and the sky of death covered the area, blocking a large area of sword light. Lu Ming's blood-red eyes swept over the death blade. Without saying anything, he soared into the sky, turned into a ray of blood-red light, and chased after the stellar river at extreme speed. They looked at the golem, and it didn't seem far from them. But when they flew, they knew that they were very far away from it. Because that golem was simply too big. In the void, streaks of rainbow light flew towards the giant golem like meteors. The eternal Star River was far ahead. However, Lu Ming was in hot pursuit and was slowly approaching. This flight took a full half an hour. With their speed, they had flown for half an hour. One could imagine how far this distance was. And at this time, they finally neared the enormous golem. At this moment, Lu Ming and the galaxy had already left the rest far behind. They were far ahead. Lu Ming was already approaching the galaxy. Damn it! What kind of secret technique is this guy using? It still hasn't disappeared. The galaxy roared in its heart. Lu Ming's body was covered in a bloody glow, and his aura was still powerful. Normal secret techniques wouldn't be able to sustain such a powerful attack for so long. However, Lu Ming seemed to be fine. He burst out with all his strength and rushed towards the giant golem at extreme speed. He had a feeling that the blood in his body was boiling, as if he had developed a sense of closeness with the giant golem and the common people. It was as if this golem had a bloodline connection with him. It must be the Hung family's ancestor. It must be. The galaxy roared in its heart. The closer he got to the giant golem, the stronger the feeling he had. He felt that as long as he flew to the golem, he would be able to get it. At that moment, Lu Ming's eyes were filled with surprise. That was because in his sea of consciousness, the stone sword, the Celestial Emperor's sword, was constantly trembling, buzzing and whistling. It was as if he had formed a connection with the stone man. The stone sword. Perhaps it really is the sword of the Celestial Emperor, the sword of this stone man. A thought flashed across Lu Ming's mind. However, he did not slow down and gradually approached the galaxy. Boom! Lu Ming threw a punch, and a terrifying fist radiance blasted toward the Star River. The Eternal God Bell. Xingqian shouted, and unleashed his full power. Another round of the Eternal God Clock enveloped him. The eternal god bell trembled and released a terrifying sound wave that rushed towards Lu Ming. However, it was broken by Lu Ming's punch. Clang! Clang! As the galaxy flew toward the stone golems, it shook the eternal god bell. The terrifying sound waves transformed into all sorts of sharp attacks that charged toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming's moves were very simple. He cast the prison-suppressing heavenly art and punched out, destroying the sound waves. He slowly approached the galaxy. The two of them fought as they flew, and in the blink of an eye, they had exchanged more than 10 moves. Boom! Boom! A few rays of fist radiance broke through the sound waves of the Star River and bombarded the eternal god bell of the Star River. The eternal god bell trembled and dense cracks appeared on it. Xing Chen's expression was ugly. He gritted his teeth and charged towards the golems. In the past, no one in his generation could break his eternal god bell. However, today, it was broken by Lu Ming one after another. When I become an emperor-to-be, I'll definitely kill you, Xing Chen roared in his heart. He was careless and took another punch. His body shook, and he almost vomited blood. At this moment, they were already very close to the golems. Only after getting close did they discover that the golems were really too large and incomparably majestic. They were probably only as big as a strand of the golem's hair. At this moment, a shocking scene appeared. The stone golem suddenly opened its eyes. This scene made Lu Ming, Hung Xinghe, and the others' hearts race. The golem opened its eyes. Could it be that the celestial Dharch was not dead? If it was true, it would be a huge matter. The golem opened its eyes, only to see that its two eyeballs were like two deep abysses, pitch black. The next moment, two rays of light shot out from the stone golem's eyes and condensed into a figure in front of Lu Ming and Xing Chen. He was dressed in a long robe, looking magnificent. He was around 30 years old and had a kind of spirit that cared about the world. Wasn't that the image of the heavenly emperor? At this moment, everyone seemed to have forgotten to breathe. They were all dumbfounded. The celestial Dharch was really not dead? The descendant of the Hung family greets the celestial emperor ancestor. Xinghe suppressed his shock and bowed. Lu Ming of the junior generation pays his respects to the celestial Dharch. Lu Ming also cupped his fists and bowed. No matter what, the celestial Dharch was a senior expert, so it was normal for him to bow. Greetings, heavenly emperor. The others also saluted the heavenly emperor from afar. The celestial Thearch's gaze swept across the crowd. There's no need to be so polite. I'm already dead. What's left of me now is only a trace. It's like a candle in the wind that can be extinguished at any time. These words caused everyone's hearts to tremble. It seemed that the heavenly emperor had really fallen. This figure was just a trace of the heavenly emperor's mark. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support. And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.